and welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do love it when I watch my favorite NFL team make very smart moves time after time after time, as it's been so far this offseason. The approach, the decision of whether or not to move on from Carroll, who to consider out amongst the landscape. It's all been a wonderful portrait painted here by our front office and ownership, as they've made seemingly tactical right choice after right choice on the surface of it. There are no guarantees in the long term. There's no decision that you know for sure is going to work in every way, which shape, and form. You can do what you can do to mold the situation within as much control as you may have. That's the way the NFL works, where you may do a lot of smart things and things go wrong. You can do dumb things, and then you can't be shocked when they don't go right. And that's certainly not where they're twisting right now. And they've added to it now even more further by adding now an assistant head coach here, basically may become the de facto defensive coordinator, because it's not really going to matter who the defensive coordinator is going to be here. Because it's at this point, McDonald's going to be calling the plays. And so, the role of that DC is going to be a bit more diminished, and it may just become this man. And I'm speaking of Leslie Frazier. Leslie Frazier, a fantastic hire here on a couple of different levels. First, let's just unravel right off the gate as his role as a potential DC and what he would bring coming in. And I'm going to be it's going to be kind of semantics here. Does he have the title? Does he not? His impact, for all intents and purposes, being an assistant head coach, really kind of puts him into this kind of position, even if somebody else assumes the title of DC, or as some people have guessed, maybe there's just not going to be a defensive coordinator. Maybe it will just be sort of a shared kind of role there between Frazier and McDonald. But Frazier's got a track record. He is a coach that has been in this league for a very long period of time. He's both been a player and a coach. He has both won a Super Bowl as a player and as a coach. Not a head coach, but as a coach. Part of that Colts staff that won it with Peyton Manning back in the middle 2000s-ish, middle of the latest 2000s. And so he has an understanding of what it does take to be a champion. He's been in the league for a long period of time through the different iterations that the league has seen. And he's also now been recently done some really nice work that indicates you're also getting another fantastically smart defensive mind into the room, a very able guy when it comes to helping McDonald pushing the ball forward. And what I like about these two is you have McDonald with almost a little bit of going back to just about it's not Buddy Ryan's 40s. It's its own thing now than it is that, but there's like that origin of it going back to Ryan. And then in Frazier, you have his origins going back to the Tampa 2 defense. So back to that, Tony Dungy type defense. And you have, both of these kind of things coming together a little bit in a meeting of mind of ideas in their basic different philosophies that they have in general terms apply with. Now, both of them, I think, do a lot of the same stuff really when it all boils down, because of the way that McDonald is more modernized the old 46 from what it was. It's no one can run that no more. I mean, you could barely run it back then, but it's still, I think it'll be great to bring a guy like in this that has that background. He's not a pure, cover 2 guy. He'll run with the cover 2 shell principles, some of the Fangio shell principles with Frazier, but you can feel his impact when you look through a little bit of his recent history, just especially. Let's just stay on, what has Frazier done lately? Because, I can show you 10 years ago, but you go, hey, what about right now? And this last year, he took a year off from football, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But 2016, prior to the arrival to the Buffalo Bills defense, they were, and I'm going to show the stats here over my left shoulder so you can see this as I'm going along. They were 19th in yards allowed, 17th in points allowed. So kind of middle of the road. All right. Not bad, not horrible, but not good. Middle of the road. He comes in the next year, actually allows a little more yards allowed, points allowed, instituting his defense there in the Bills. Maybe not a talented unit at this time. This is, of course, just with in the McDermott era coming into form just about here. We get to 2018, we get a big jump. The team moves up from 26th in 2017 in yards allowed to second. They still sit at 18 points allowed. Maybe some of that being that I think you have a young Josh Allen there throwing some picks times and putting him on some short fields. But the yards allowed was second during 2018. 2019 really gets cooking, really gets flowing. Third in yards allowed, second in points allowed on that Buffalo Bills defense. So, okay, not too bad. Now, he leaves in 2020, I think it was. Sorry, let me double check my notes here. I had this up, and I took it out. So he does leave for the 2000 Bills. Sorry, he's assistant head coach now. 2020 and 21, 22. So again, as we get to 21, first and first, 22, first and second, 2023 after he left this past year, it's a little bit of a cliff. So what might have happened to them? Yeah. Now there's a little more. Again, I want to be in the name of fairness on the Buffalo Bills this past year. They did suffer some pretty big, gnarly injuries on that defense, specifically really to three guys mainly, Matt Milano, Daquan Jones, and Tre'Davious White, and that didn't help them. But this was a year where Frazier was taking the year off. There's a big impact of loss from this defense when he walks out the door this past year. It's literally zero. It's literally from 0 to 0. It's from first to worst. That's your drop off. And now, while losing a couple players might account for some of that, it can't account for kind of all of that, can it? Now, the Dolphins are in that division, sure, but so are the Jets with their quarterback situation too. So is New England with their quarterback situation too. I don't know if you can find a lot of excuses past, wow, they really felt and missed the impact of Leslie Frazier and what he brings. And what it seemed like to me got him out the door there that final year, had him, I'm going to take a year off and just call this, is that they had the Bengal game there and the snow and the elements. And, the elements kind of ended up, I think, messing things up there a little bit there for that Bills team as much as anything else. And you'd think they would play well in the elements. They just didn't, to me, feel like they did on that day. But a lot of people threw the blame back at the defense and his approach, which sometimes can have that, I'm going to drop and protect deep and make you have to earn it. And but then teams will earn their way up the field sometimes. He's had a lot better of a recent track record in running this process than we did under Carroll with that same kind of approach, but in a different way. I think he's been more of a 4-3 over guy, where I think we were a 4-3 under team, as far as the kind of differences there. We were cover 2. There was in what we like to lean to, or, the quarter half, and he likes that, cover 2 shell and drop into cover 2 quite a bit out of it. So it's a little bit different in execution what you're doing, but they're all conceptually trying to really accomplish the same thing, which is to prevent the offenses from getting down the field and hitting you deep, make them earn their way up the field. You counter this and contrast this with a Mike McDonald, who's going to be a little bit more of a, I'm going to take it to you. I got a little bit more of that Wink Martindale, a little bit more of that Buddy Ryan kind of background, Rex Ryan kind of, background to him. And McDonald seemingly has found that perfect balance there in order to, how do I get the right amount of just blitzing to dropping into coverage? And because he does so much disguising in what he's doing, and so much of it's built upon that, and especially with the stacked fronts, it adds a whole nother layer to anything that, Frazier would bring with his defense. And Frazier's defense kind of just philosophy fits very well over the top of it. It's like 2 blankets you're laying down on top of each other. It's just perfect. It's not going to be a unworking hybridization this doesn't fit to this. It does. It will meld very well. So on the X's and O's side of it, this guy gives you a tremendous coach for his defensive understanding and background, his recent record, been in the game forever. There's not a thing he hasn't seen defensively that he is going to at least have a potential adjustment or counter to. He's a guy in a lot of ways who probably should have at one point or another been given another head coaching job opportunity. He got into that spot some guys get into where you get your one shot, then you never get another opportunity. But he is going to help first right on that front instantaneously with McDonald. That's just another really smart guy in the room who knows what he's talking about, to give him another mind to lean on. The other part this adds, the guardian angel aspect of what this provides, is that you have a young coach coming in as going from the oldest coach in the NFL to now we have the youngest coach in the NFL. And if you hear that on the surface of it, you go, okay, that can work. We've seen that work with McVay. I mean, he was damn near 29 years old when he walked in with the Rams. But you go, I do need to kind of do something like what I did with McVay, though. I got to pair this back with a guy that, has that gray beard, has seen it all, done it all, been through all the wars, and that he can lean on, that there doesn't have to be him always learning these hard mistakes. When you're the first-time coach, we've all seen it, right? These guys get memed up when it happens to them, and you feel bad about it. They'll have these moments, where they're just first coaching job, and it's a fourth quarter call, or they don't get a timeout in, or they win for fourth down in this wild moment in their own territory. And why would you ever do that? What would ever possess you to do that? And so they just get banged on it, whereas an older coach would, lean over to the younger coach if he was there and say, Coach, yeah, just not on this one. Trust me, I'll explain it later. You sure? Yeah. Okay. We're not. No. Count it off. Bring the kicking unit on. Bring the kicking unit on. So you need this guy to be there with that, because there's going to be, especially having a head coach like McDonald and him calling the defensive calls. This is the extra layer with him, is that, and McVay called, I believe, the offensive calls for the Rams. So he was able to pull it off on the counter side of it. But you need all that much more than the guy that he can lean into for more of the coaching type stuff that'll happen over the course of the game. And now Frazier, is able to come in and provide that kind of role for him, which is just going to be fantastic. And now you can maybe avoid those pitfalls that these first-time coaches fall into when they're not given that guy, or they don't get the right guy in who can provide that. And then they just have to learn those hard lessons. And so maybe they're providing you some really good upside as that first-time coach. Dynamic offense, and he's doing all this and he's doing all that, and that's wonderful. But then when it comes down to actually the big coaching things that he's got to get right, keeping control of your timeouts and just how you manage the game at a big, 30,000 foot level looking down, that's where then they can kind of fail at it. And then so their goods, whatever they're doing in the good column, gets pulled back a little bit like the reins. And it gets, not fully pulled, like there's no use to those guys at that point, whatever good they're bringing, but it definitely keeps them from reaching potentially the heights that you're seeking to reach when you bring these coaches in. So this is a fantastic hire, just like what McVay had for him with Wade Phillips. Phillips came in there, son of a coach. Bum Phillips, colorful guy out there when the Oilers traded us, Steve Largent, kind man for that. And his son had been in the league forever, seen it all, done all, been a head coach, just a lot like this Frazier situation. Very defensive-minded coach. And this is going to allow McDonald to really be able to, I think, relax in a lot of ways, and know he's got himself covered from not making some huge boneheaded mistake, because he's so caught up in some defensive scheme at the moment that he doesn't think of something that he should have been thinking of. But he's got the guy that'll be there in his ear to say, tap him on the shoulder and say, no, you don't want to go down that road with this. Just take down this, And he's going to have the trust in Frazier at that point. If Frazier doesn't have to sit there and have an argument with him about it, it's not that he's going to overrule McDonald. McDonald's still got the final say, but it's just that if he comes over and says, hey, just don't do this and I'll explain it to you later, Mike McDonald trusts, okay, whatever he explains to me later, this is going to add up and track and I'll understand it and why he advised me to go down and push over in this way of it. But just another fantastic part of this process. I know some fans aren't happy with it. Many fans seem very, very energized by the decision to move on from Carroll. It wasn't an easy decision, would be my point. None of this stuff's necessarily been easy to be made. And they went out there and they made the tough decision. And then they could have taken the easy approach beyond that. They could have taken the safe hire with Dan Quinn that would have certainly wouldn't have had people rejecting it outright like a bad hire. And maybe not all of the fan base would have been jumping up and down with the pom-poms, but at least some of the people that were the Carroll folks that, loved Carroll, didn't want to see him fired, would then go, okay, if you're at least bringing in kind of a Carroll guy, so I'll be more accepting of this. They didn't take that route. They took a long form approach and said, let's look through all these candidates. Let's see what we got, everything available to us, and then make the proper judgment from there. And then they made seemingly what we think and appears to be the proper judgment. We'll see with time. But on the surface of it, both locally and nationally, people are going, yeah, this is a hire that is smart. This guy is genius and mastermind and all these kind of phrases that get tossed around with this guy. But you don't hear a lot of, what is Seattle doing? Why are they doing that? who would have ever brought this young coach in? I don't think any of you heard one report, have you, about how, oh, look at how they're bringing in this young coach how's this going to work? Not one report, not one story, not one article. I'm not even hearing from opposing fans coming into my chat here. You think a couple of them be like, oh, you think this, and even them, no, that's okay. We know this guy's legit. This guy's good. He's going to be a problem for the opposition, of course, for the opposition. But now they just continue to add on to this with bringing in Leslie Frazier, who I think provides just a great guiding hand. Ben Grubbs, sorry, learn to pronounce his name right. Looks like he is the front runner to be the offensive head coach now, offensive coordinator here for your Seattle Seahawks coming up, which, I've heard some back and forth. I think the Huskies out there in my audience love him. The Cougs are like, yeah, whatever. And then some are like, I don't know if that offense is going to work, that college offense. But I'll tell you one thing, is that he is not going the safe route with this. It's kind of my whole big long-winded, point to this is that the Hawks are taking a smart approach, but they're not necessarily just trying to take the safe approach in their process here, especially if they end up making Grubb the hire. And I love that they're trying to take that big swing here, and they're doing it smartly. And as I said at the top, that's not a guarantee for success. But you start stacking smart decisions on top of each other. That is where you start to pave that road towards getting in that direction of things. And hopefully our Seahawks can get it done. Hopefully these coaches are the right coaches in here. But Frazier, I think, is a guy that you know exactly what you're getting here. He is going to be nothing but a help to that defense. He's going to be nothing but a help to Coach McDonald. And he's absolutely going to be a nice, steadying voice in that locker room that I believe players will listen to. And there's really, to me, you can't find any kind of downside to this move, which I love more than anything at all on it. So you may hear me praising more and more this team time and again, rather than hearing points of things that I'm not happy with. But that's just because they're doing smart things. And when the team's doing smart things, it's deserving of praise. When it does dumb things, you deserve of knocking them for it. Saying, hey, why are you guys doing dumb things? But nothing so far this offseason in their process has been dumb or not the right approach. And it's great to see. And this is a great hire. So you're going to love Leslie Frazier. This is a helpful hand to Mike McDonald. Just what the doctor ordered. None of those first-time pitfalls. And hopefully our Hawks are going to be able to really jump on the back of this and make this something that can be really good really fast. Because that's just another thing that Frazier comes in here to help you with is I'm not asking for a quick turnaround. This may take a while. You are instituting some new principles across the board, a new culture, all that. I get that. So I'm not going to be chomping at the bit. But this is a very talented team. It's a very talented team that our own general manager said he felt underachieved last year. You're bringing in a lot more guys here that are going to help them now start working to the point of achieving their possible and maybe even taking them into the over column on that one. Smart guys, know what they're doing, know what we're getting. We've got a great melding. I just love the thought process here of moving between the stack fronts that you get from sort of the ancestral roots of McDonald's defense to the cover two principles that you get from the ancestral kind of roots of Frazier's defense, and then how you blend those together and how you keep that perfect balance of stack fronts to blitz, how you hide that cover two, or how you make it look cover two to the last minute to then sneak it out into being a single high or a cover three, or maybe just man across the board or quarters. You just, so many different flavors and movements between these guys and the adjustments that they can apply. Like we saw in the second half of that game in the playoffs between the Chiefs and the Ravens, where McDonald had an answer he could go to. Struggling a little bit in that first half, giving up 17 points, finds an answer he can go to. And able to utilize an answer that's so good, the Chiefs don't score another point throughout the whole rest of the second half. And that's what you're going to get even more so now, I think, with a guy like Frazier brought in. And I think with Frazier, his weaknesses are the perfect thing that goes to what McDonald brings to the table and his aggressiveness and his stack fronts. Because a lot of Frazier's troubles are with that, he just runs the cover two, and it's just a lot of 4-3 over. So you're just, you know the fronts you're always going to get offensively, and everything becomes predictable. Donald, completely unpredictable. But yeah, there's still a lot of good things he brings. So we're going to do a pretty quick show in here tonight. This will be a in and out, little extra one, as I've got a show going on tomorrow. I'm trying to bring in as well right now Chad Brown for another interview with him, because I want to talk about this defense with him. I want to talk about the situation here with Carroll and a little bit maybe of Wilson with that, as he's out there in Denver and been covering the team out in Denver. So I'm going to be doing that. If you guys have any questions that you might want me to ask Chad Brown, do me a favor, post them if you can. You can do it in the comment section here, but if you can, post it in my comment section below this video after it posts, and then I'll be on the lookout for it. But we will be getting a Chad Brown interview, hopefully again, bringing him back in the house. Had a great time. Didn't get through all my questions last time that I wanted to ask him. I want to talk to him a little bit more about a few more things, and hopefully we'll have him synced up here soon, as well as we've got this week on Tuesday on 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We'll be doing Behind Enemy Lines, a very special edition. A very special edition on Behind Enemy Lines. Today we take you with Coach Evans of Sip to Tally Films YouTube channel, a Baltimore Ravens YouTube channel. We did a Behind Enemy Lines this year. Had a great time with him. He knows this defense back and front. His channel's got a lot that it does in covering the All-22 tape. We're going to be getting into a lot of the peculiarities, the particulars, itemize it a little bit, try to figure out what we should be looking for as folks new to this defense, and talking with him a little bit about that on this upcoming show at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. So a lot lined up here. And no, by the way, we're going to be doing a show tomorrow on Sunday. So we're not going to get to a lot of Senior Bowl talk tonight. I might get a couple questions popped in on that, but I've got a Senior Bowl show. We'll be doing a Senior Bowl wrap-up coverage kind of the Senior Bowl week and the Senior Bowl game and risers and fallers and all that, but we'll be doing that tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So we might be doing shows just about all week long for you guys. Hope you're ready. Strap on in. We're going to get rolling. But that does mean tonight we're going to be doing a little bit short, so not a long Q&A tonight. Kind of just an in and out kind of quick show for you guys. But I appreciate everybody watching tonight. Can you do me this just little favor if you could? Big favor, big helpful hand to me if you hit and smack that like button. So when you hit that like button, tells YouTube to push my video out, tells me to push my content out to other places on the platform. So you do help it out tremendously. If you could do that for me, please. Megan Roger, my lady from Daninda, has been celebrating 26 long months, over 2 years as a Hawks Nest member. Thank you for that, Megan. We've got ongoing member shows right now every Thursday. Says, won't be joining as it's family day. Well, sorry about that, Megan. Well, not sorry, but I hope you have a good family day. We have hockey. Love this hire. Can't wait to see how it goes. Me neither. And it does look like, Megan, we've been blocked to hire Kafka by the Giants. You've given Frazier the assistant head coaching role, so now you can't really offer that. You can't really offer that to the Giants as an option at this point. That would be the only way you'd be able to just pull them away without the Giants squawking about it. So it does mean he remains. Devo Martel, thank you for being a member of the Hawks Nest for 6 months. Appreciate you as a Ring of Honor member. Let's go. Can the season start now? Yeah, I know. I'll tell you, you guys think you're chomping right now. Just wait till we're through the free agents, we're through the draft picks, and we're sitting there and it's only May 17th. And you're like, oh man. Oh, it's going to be a long summer. So strap in on that one. I have a feeling we're going to be hanging in there for a second with it. But excited nonetheless, Devo. Garth Knight, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, Brando, blade to your jugular. Who do you want for OC? I just watched Chinatown last night, Garth. They got the knife scene. It's like, do you like your nose? You like your nose? Yeah, I like my nose. Why? Man, that'd be brutal. Movie kind of held up, by the way. Kind of. Blood to my jugular. Who do you want for OC at this minute? Well, it's kind of unfortunate to hear news coming out, Garth, that Arthur Smith was reportedly the guy that they were going to try to target into, but Arthur got a little bit tippity-tappity of the toes. He saw Vrabel maybe wasn't going to get a job, and he wasn't sure if McDonald was going to get the job there with Seattle. So, he just kind of jumped ship and ran Steeler town, which sucks to hear because that wouldn't have been the worst of additions. I guess the Ben Grubb guy sounds as good as any that are out there as far as available. Inglestrad out there at Detroit. he's never called plays. I don't mind going with untested, but that's really untested. I do feel like with play callers, you have to get through their whole bumps in the road. Those pitfalls I talked about the head coach, I think you get with coordinators, first-time coordinators, getting their play sequencing right and understanding what gets them in trouble and their own tendencies. But I think Grubb's going to get it. Do I think he's absolutely positively the best coordinator here they could have gone with as a hire, or an OC for a hire? I'm not sure on that part. It's got a lot of potential to it. I like that it's not an old school offense. I like that. I like that. I think it will fit to Geno Smith's skill set pretty well, and you've got players that can fit pretty well to what you want to do from it. Kind of thinking about it the other night, the one thing that stands out to me with this receiving core is that with Bobo, Lockett, and DK, you don't really have yak guys. So you can't lean into having an offense that's really based on just throwing it into a guy's hand and having him go put in work out in space, unless you're looking to go get another one of those guys from somewhere. That means to me, maybe we got to build a little bit more of an offense that is housed into not needing to do that like other offenses are in the league, like the 49ers. And maybe we're not looking to take the page out of the Niners book because we just don't have the personnel to do so. And I don't think it's smart to just move off all the talented personnel we have that are good in a lot of other ways simply because they don't do the yak stuff. Well, then let's find an offense that crafts to them. Does this spread offense do that? I mean, not really. The air raid will go deep. Penix certainly showed you how you could find some designs within the air raid to attack deep with it and those concepts with it. But, I mean, it's also going to want to kind of pepper the ball in short a little bit too. And work the yak is kind of what I'm saying. But Grubb will be the guy. I kind of feel like maybe there's something else there But I'm also not going to squawk about it because it's a forward approach and it's not boring. And as I said at the top about all these other moves, say what you want about them. They're not safe. They're not playing it safe. The safe move would have been to go and hold on to Coach Carroll. The safe move would have been then if you're going to move off Carroll, to go get Quinn. The safe move would have been to go find a head coach who'd coached before, if not Quinn, like a Vrabel. They're going big on this. So I guess why not continue to go big all the way down the line, even to your offensive coordinator? So I wish I had more names, though. It just, when looking through the names list, I think it's why they're to guys like Inglestrad, is that there isn't really a big, deep list. I think the guy out of the Dolphins, the Frank Smith one, would have been a very interesting one too, Garth. I mean, I think, he might have been, even a little better because there is a little bit of, but then again, I come back to it, that's all about yak, that whole offense. So it's like, maybe not that. It's going to take a guy that's just creative and understanding how to use his talent to do the things that Leslie Frazier talks about. Like player quote here, he's great all around. You can tell he really cares about his players. The one thing I've noticed about him for years, says Matt Milano about him, he cares about his players, but he also has that unique approach. Mike McDonald has this unique approach of trying to find out what those players do well and maximize that, rather than forcing them into the box of do what I tell you do into this one role where I'm sitting you into. And so maybe you're going to find an offensive coordinator that can do that. And maybe that's really utmost, as I'm kind of long-windedly talking this through, Garf, maybe that's really the most important thing to do here, is to find a guy that, rather than the offense he brings, the understanding he brings of, we're going to get you the offensive line. You're going to have as much offensive talent on this offensive side of the ball as anybody in football, but you're not going to do it the same way as other people are going to do it. And you find an approach that works within that. Yeah, I can do that. You give me DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN, Charbonnet, Walker, bookend tackles, second round left guard, third round center. Yeah, I'll find a Jake Bobo in there a little bit maybe. I'll find a way to make it work. Suspicious Stench has been a member of the Hawks Nest for 14 months. Says, go Hawks. Have I missed anything? Oh, no, man, you were only 20 in late. It's all good. Just the bottom line being Suspicious Stench, and thank you for that. 14 months as a Hawks Nest member. Love this hire in addition to love what they've done throughout this offseason. There's not been even, if I was stepping in the tracks of the snow that the Hawks had walked, I'd be putting my shoes right into the same imprint every step of the way this offseason and what they've done. And it's been pretty astonishing to see where a lot of the stuff that we talked about throughout this season and not only the reasons to go and potentially move on from Carroll, but what you would look for in if you're bringing somebody on to this team and what you would then do on the second and third and fourth things then beyond that as your approaches that extend beyond that, in succession to that. Like I'm hiring a really young coach. Okay, well then I need to get the elder statesman in there who can guide him down the river right. Oh, got that done too. Forward-thinking approaches on both sides of the ball. Boom, got that too. Maximizing the talent here. Boom, got that too. Doing all the things that we would have talked about and daydreamed about, quite frankly, throughout the course of the year. And it's coming true. And it's coming true in full. Just gets me, again, that much more hopeful for much more of the immediate impact of these returns of change. Because you're not leaving things unaccounted for. You're not taking advantages, a group and a clump of them and, throwing them off the table and going, no, we're going to do it over here with all this instead. We'll leave that clump on the floor. No, take advantage of everything you possibly take advantage of. Utilize your players for all the skills they bring in particular, not for what you want your thing to be. I think it's a subtle but a very important point. But that's my bottom line, Stench. Nothing but good times right now, man. Snail, thank you for the $5 donation. I appreciate you for that, Snail. With Mike and Frazier, it would be interesting to see what an air raid attack would end up looking like. Grubb would have the ability to really test it. Well, it's something we've really, I don't think, quite ever fully seen in the NFL unleashed, because, of course, a lot of what you get with full-on air raid is you got the hash mark spread at the college level and those fields like that where it really does allow you to sort of widen out the field a little bit more. That's part of what I think sometimes makes it hard to put those concepts into play here. But we do know with a guy like Geno Smith that he does his best work in the 2-minute situations and 2-minute drills. I mean, he does good work outside of that, but I mean, he's been at times just an assassin inside of 2 minutes. I'm talking inside of 2 minutes and a half, inside of 2 minutes of the game. And if that's the case, you're kind of at times running some of those concepts that you would be, running within it. And there's a potentially could work. You do have guys in JSN that can work a little bit more of that intermediate stuff that's absolutely required if you're going to run the raid, and then you do have the field stretchers as well. So it's not that you couldn't make it work. You just kind of have to pull out the yak aspect of it a little bit and find your way to make it, build around that. I think the other thing with it is that you have to also find the adjustment, because the whole thing with if you're going to run, and it's not really an air raid, by the way, it's just I'm shorthanding this a little bit because the quick way to encapsulate an offense really fast without having to go paragraph every time you describe the way Grubb runs his deal, the way he runs it. But the commitment to the ground game and the run game, Mike Leach, God bless him, 70% pass to run rate would sometimes be what you might get. And with Walker and Charbonnet with the NFL, I don't think we're at a place where we can really roll quite like that. We got a lot of offensive playmakers and guys that can catch the ball, but if you're going to be throwing it 70 times like that, then you better be hitting Walker and Charbonnet out of the backfield collectively 75 times over the course of the season. Which, again, you could maybe find that adjustment within it. Maybe not too crazy to think. And you do have an offensive line right now. You're talking about presumptive starters. Charles Cross pass blocks better than he run blocks. Lucas probably pass blocks maybe just a bit hair better than he run blocks when he's healthy. Oluwatimi's more of a pass blocking background than he is a run blocker. Just saying. Just saying. But thank you, Snell. It would be very interesting to see what the iteration of it would look like. And Grubb is a name, 47 years old. Was about to head to Alabama. Probably was going to do some work there at Alabama. And his name was going to continue to rise. So this is you maybe getting out ahead of this one on that one as well for a guy that down the line might be a real bright candidate. He's the front runner. Shamrock, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Shamrock463, appreciate you for doing that. We're on the road here, folks, now, looking our way ahead here to 20,000 subscribers. That's the next goal. So hopefully this next year, I think we'll put that as a nice, good, soft goal here as we just rounded. I think today is actually our channel, right around the channel birthday. But we're moving to a new year. That's the new goal, if we can pull to it. Thank you, Shamrock. Barry Satoro. Woo! Thank you for the $20 donation, Barry. It didn't have anything in your comment. You might have a comment down in the chat. I'll look for it down below if you got it posted down there. But thank you, my friend, for the $20 donation. One of my OGs. I think you were, Barry, like 73 subscriber or something back in the old days. So thank you for that, man. I appreciate the donation, and it's great to see you in the house tonight. I want to try to do these quick bonus shows as I can every once in a while, folks. Kind of fit in a few more, especially when we got some kind of breaking news like we did yesterday. Didn't have a chance to go live, and I did want to kind of talk over this one with you guys a little bit because I don't think it's any small hire, especially if the team is not going to be looking to go out and actually get a DC, if this is your DC, effectively speaking. But I appreciate you, Barry. Thank you so much for that. Rand says, I love the Frazier hire. Me too. Mark, how you doing? Thanks for reminding me on too as well. Hitting that like button, folks. Daniel Barry, what's up? Mr. Grubb, hello, hello, hello. Is that you, Mr. Grubb? Is that our new OC? So, Jace, the new OC, I think I haven't really gotten, I'm not sure we're going to get a new DC, Jace, on that first. And then as far as the new OC goes, I'm hard pressed on this one. I don't think that there's the great candidate out there right now. I probably would have been on the Arthur Smith hire with the running back talent that you have and what he would bring as far as his knowledge and understanding of that. But I think all of these guys right now I've heard bandied about would be pretty close. I like Grubb a little bit more than Inglestrad. Chip Kelly would be just buck wild. Chip Kelly would be Frank the Tank from old school, you know? We're going streaking. We're going streaking. Fill it up again. Fill it up again. Yeah, that's what you're going to get with Chip. So I don't know if we can go the Kelly might be just a bit too much for the NFL. A little bit too much, Chip. But I mean, Grubb sounds as good as any I've heard so far that we've been pushing around. I haven't heard a lot of other really good names that jump out to me. So I'm going, well, it's you could definitely do worse. And he is I do like somebody with that got the modernized approach. We're going to maximize this offensive talent. We're probably not going to do it on the back of a 1997 offense. Right? So I do like that. I haven't gotten sold to it fully yet. I'm waiting to get kind of fully pulled in and sold to it, I suppose. But, it seems it's an interesting one at least. I'm not down on it, I'll say that. Messiah Hamandi, you heard my call and answered it. I really appreciate you for doing that. Subscribing to the channel. Hope I didn't butcher your name too much on that, but thank you so much for subbing up to the channel. It's really appreciated. I'd love to get up to that 20,000 mark this year if we can keep just rounding the bend as we do. And so, Hella, thank you for helping me get there. I really do appreciate it. Scott Proctor, you as well, answered the call. Thank you for that, Scott. Welcome aboard the TheSeahawksNest, and thank you for coming aboard. It's much appreciated. Peter Go Hawks with a $5 donation. Peter, great to see you in the house tonight, and thank you so much for that donation. It says, with all of the new changes in mind, what do you think their first 3 picks in the draft are now? Also, if it was you, who would your first 3 picks be? Let's effing go! I added the extra because you had exclamation points after every letter, so that's a scream to me. Well, Peter, first, you're awesome, and thank you for the donation. With the new changes in mind, the first 3 picks. Well, I think McDonald has grown to understand the value and benefit of a middle linebacker. I think Leslie Frazier is going to tell him all about Justin Poyer and Micah Hyde and what it's like having great safeties back there that can do it all. The Hawks need themselves some offensive linemen. So what do you think their first 3 picks will be in the line? I don't know if it'll be in this order, but let's go with interior offensive line, guard or center. That's one. You got to give me both on that, Peter, because it's going to be center or guard. Then we'll go with middle linebacker. And then as a one that'll strike some people as odd, but I'm also buying that this is going to come on the heels of Diggs and Adams not being here anymore. You're also then going to go get a safety. So they're your first 3 picks. I think that's what they will kind of lean to, something like that, Peter. Who would be my first 3 picks? I set some people off. I triggered some people when we did the first mock about 2 weeks ago because I went offensive line crazy. Crazy town. Okay? I painted the town in offensive linemen. I want to build a great offensive line. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to apologize for being pro offensive line. Okay? I know what this all means. Boring. But hey, I really believe in it. So if I was going through the first 3 picks, I would probably do something along the lines of guard, center, middle linebacker, guard, center, 1 tech, nose tackle. Something like that, Peter. I really believe in rebuilding back the lines of scrimmage. I'd love to get the linebacker. Part of the reason why I've been a big advocate for if Schneider can trade back not once but twice in that first round. Hell, trade all the way out of the first round if you got it to pick up extra picks there in the top 100, because you not only need to build some guys to get defensive pieces that fit to what McDonald wants to do, but you also need to get your offensive line on the interior fixed and built up properly, which I'm anticipating the team's probably going to do. But thank you, Peter. It's great to hear that you're stoked as I am. Glad I'm not the only one. And certainly that seems to be where the fan base is right now, and it is a great place to be. Ran of the Cut, thank you for the $5 donation. I appreciate you for that, Ran. I feel like DK becomes a true number 1 this season. Mike will take one look at him and go, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, you guys remember the scene, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 there, where the raccoon catches the gun for the first time there in the prison? Yeah, catches it out there. And, oh, yeah. That's, I think that's going to be the equivalent of what Mike McDonald gets on the first day of camp watching DK out there. And this is now what I think is going to happen with DK as we go into the future is you're going to see DK maximized. I think one of the biggest people that got inhibited by the fact that the team did not like to throw the intermediate parts of the field into the middle of the field especially was DK Metcalf. If you take that top off, you say, we're not going to lid this part of our offense up anymore. Let's unscrew this thing off and throw it to the corner. Now you have a potential for DK to attack all levels of the football field and not just have to run slants and goes and comebacks and out routes. Now we can feel more of the post routes up the field, more of the deep crossers that he hit in that Baltimore Ravens game. Remember that 50-yard deep crosser? Wasn't that wild to see? And you're like, why don't we see more crossers at DK? Because they finally this year for the first time started to actually run him out of the slot and not trying to run him out of the slot to have him do slot things, but to allow him to attack with his skill set out of the slot. Specifically, still get with depth up the football field, but be able to attack on a level that the defense can't easily anticipate to build their doubles or bracket coverages to. And so, yeah, I think he's going to become that 1,500-yard receiver this next year. And we finally will get a DK Metcalf uncaged, in my opinion. Lack of a better term, that's what's basically happened here. Put him in the bird cage. You threw the little covering over, and he still got you 1,000 yards a year. Now we're going to stop clipping the wings. We're going to take the covering off. We're going to fling those bird gates open. Let him fly free. Let that hawk soar. But thank you, Rand. Appreciate you. Nolan in the house, dropping a $10 donation. Thank you, Nolan, for that. I do appreciate you for that, brother. And again, too, folks, we'll be doing a quick show tonight. So if we don't get your question tonight, I will be bouncing back over and on tomorrow at our normal scheduled time at 5 o'clock as well. We'll be doing a deep late show tomorrow night. So if we don't get on to that night, we will be certainly getting onto it as far as the QAs go tomorrow on that. But just want to put a heads up out there. Nolan, thank you for the $10 donation. Says Denver had Jerry Rosburg for Hackett. Denver had Jerry Rosburg for Hackett. I'd take Grubb. Add some seasoned assistants up in the box to help with any game management. Love the start to the staff so far. Go Hawks. Go Hawks. Jerry Rosburg for me. I guess I'm saying something that like Jerry Rosburg, and I guess that in itself, who's Jerry Rosburg? And then Nolan, I think you'd say exactly. So having that was Hackett's support guy, I guess, right? Rosburg was his Leslie Frazier, and this shows you the difference in two organizations and approaches to bring on the head coach from one to the other, and why one failed and one here has a much better chance for success because it's being done with a thoroughly smart approach all the way through. Versus some organizations, I know it sounds silly to say this, but there's a lot of organizations that do things for dumb reasons and put staffs together for silly reasons, or there's different inputs coming in for the wrong ideas in the room, and they're not doing that. But yeah, I think that they're doing everything great so far, Nolan, like you are as well. I think Grubb can work. I like your terminology of seasoned assistants in the box. Get him some pros then around him that can be a support group there then for him, because it is going to be like with Grubb where you're like, okay, no, you're not going to get away with that here. No, you can't run that. You run that here with that, they're going to do this, and then your offense will get taken apart, with that. If you go down that line with this sequencing or these play, don't do that. Or do this. Love what you're doing here, and then how about this, and how about this off of that? Also on the positive side of it. But Frazier to McDonald is perfect. He's going to be just that perfect guardian angel there, just whispering every time to time, just light of heaven coming down, Don't go for it. Don't go. Okay. Potter, Robert Lee Potter. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, Mr. Potter. I appreciate you again. Thank you, folks, for answering that call out there. It's a big aid to us. I'm trying to get that 20,000 mark, so you're helping me get there a little bit closer at a time. We just passed that 15,000 mark, so it feels good. And hopefully we can get there. We got a year, so you can help me get there already. I know we're ways out, but look at Robert helping us get just a little inch, just an inch further closer there, getting it with that kind of stuff. So thank you for that, Robert. I appreciate you for that. Taker610, thank you for the $2 donation. Brendan suggested Frank Reich for OC. He did win a Super Bowl. I did kind of forget in the moment here about Frank Reich. So I guess Frank would maybe be a little bit more of a guy that I may want a little bit more in the, may want to look to have as more of the OC. I will say with Frank, he has been an East Coast guy, kind of, Indianapolis, Carolina, played at Buffalo. Does he want to come out to the West Coast? Does he want to go be an OC at this point? I think he's getting paid right now, even not to work. That's one of those things that Frank's in that position too, is one of those coaches, Taker, where I think he still gets the money from Carolina, and so there's not really anything financially as far as from that standpoint as a reason to do it. You got to do it for the love of the game at that point. And does Frank really want to do that? Now, if he did, would I be open to it? Would I maybe be even more on board with that than a Grubb? Yeah, I would. I would probably be a little bit more. Frank's going to be a little bit more of the old tried and true in his approach, but you also have a little bit more of, what you're getting with him. And we already have a little bit of the question aspect with McDonald. I don't mind going full question mark, but if you got a little bit more of a certainty on one side of the ball, you can call upon, and especially for a guy like Frank, who with both of his coaching stops, he just didn't necessarily have the kind of offensive talent to get it done, and not to what he's going to have here. Frank Reich was announced. I think that'd make a lot of sense. That'd be a pretty smart hire as well. But probably pretty close to Taker, equally happy with Grubb or Reich for different reasons. But yeah, he's won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, and even with the stops that he didn't do well as a head coach, it's just Colts. They could never get him. Never got him a quarterback. They just went out there and got all these old ass quarterbacks for him. They got Phillip Rivers at the end of his career, and Matt Ryan at the end of his career, and then Carson Wentz broken down, and Gardner Minshew, and just, I don't think maybe they didn't have Gardner at that time, but the other three they did. And so goes to Carolina, he gets Bryce Young first year with a bad offensive line. Like, who was going to succeed in that environment? So I'm not down on him at all. I'd be with it. DJ Jimenez, how you doing? Says, give me Tanner for OC. Inglestrong. I'm with it. I'm okay with it if they want to. You don't know what you're getting on that one, that's for sure. All Pro Seahawks, I like McDonald hire a lot. I can see why they call him the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan of defensive minds. Yes. Well-earned title, All Pro. And it's not one that's given out easily, I don't think, because there's not a lot of defenses doing what he's done. Not a lot of young defensive minds doing what he's done. I think the title is fit. The title fits. If the shoe fits. Patrick Fox, I wish Coach brings Chuck Smith with him. I don't know much about Chuck Smith. Be cool if you could pull a few over, though. Sean Hines, Hawks Nest, what's your thought about T. Martin as the Hawks OC? I've not really been big on T. Martin as a possibility, Sean. He's only quarterback coached 1 year there with Baltimore, 2 years done the receivers coaching, no real OC background, no calling plays background. If you're going to take that kind of risk, then just go for a Grubb. At least Grubb's got to me a little bit more of the upside that he would bring versus that. So I don't think so. I also don't think that there's a part of me with this as we looked at the assistants there at Baltimore where I don't think that my instinct on this is McDonald's is not trying to necessarily pull and tear from Harbaugh's staff all over the place, and from out of respect. I could be reading into it too much, but it feels just a little bit like that to me. Haley says, and what's up, Haley? It's good to see you. Says, thoughts on New York blocking Kafka from interviewing? Well, Haley, it's kind of a dick move by New York. If your intention is going to be that you're probably going to fire DeBoll next year, unless he has tremendous success for you this upcoming season. And thinking that Dable, I like to call him Dable. I turn into Chicago when I'm saying Brian Dable's name. Dable. When Dable fails next year and he gets fired, then Kafka gets fired and he's out of a job, Haley, So it's like, hey, are we a year out from this thing being done anyway? Like, you're going to maybe come back to Daniel Jones? Picture New York ownership, old school New York mafia style, is holding like a butcher knife up to his throat in some Italian kitchen. You're going to stay. You're going to be our offensive coordinator. You're going to do a better job. You hear? Yeah. Okay. Wait. He's got to, no, look at the Kafka face, right? Yeah. Okay, I'll be the OC. Okay. I get it. Do you get it? And I don't want to have to tell you again. I tell you once. I don't want to tell you again. You're the offensive coordinator of the New York Giants. You're going to be that way for the foreseeable future. What have you done? What have you done to my son table? I do nothing. You call an offense, it scores no points. I'm doing Marlon the rest of the show. I'm doing Marlon Godfather the rest of the show. You guys are going to have to deal with that. Eric Biedemy says, Mr. Pork, another hire that I think would be pretty interesting. Another guy that you bring in after last year, having the offensive talent that he had with the Washington, coming in here with what he'd have to work with here. You go, ooh, looking for a little bit more discipline on the offensive side of the ball. Eric would bring that. These are all good suggestions. And I'd been kind of forgetting on a couple of these guys. Maybe a little more certain ground, too, than going the Grubb route. Like the enemy, Frank Reich, you know what you're getting. And that's not even saying you're just getting like the high floor, no ceiling. Right? You're getting at least as the good floor, and maybe there is some ceiling there to those guys, too, as well. But Mr. Pork, the enemy seems to have that weird. One of the questions I'm going to ask Chad Brown about in regards to when we have a chance to sit down here soon. Why is your old teammate Bienemy can't get no love? Josh says, what do you guys think? Cut Adams, Diggs, Ballore, structure, release Lockett, Bobby potentially out the door, bring in Patrick Queen and Geno Stone. I like it overall, man. I think with Lockett, I don't know if I need to necessarily restructure with him. I think that you can cut the rest of the guys across the board you mentioned. Josh, I'd add on that Brian Monet and Dwayne Eskridge as other additional cuts. Patrick Queen is definitely going to be potentially a target for our Hawks. I'm eventually do a video of Patrick Queen versus Jordan Brooks kind of video. I think that's going to be a little bit of what people are going to make it as sort of the decision therein of. Dex says, look, Eric Bieniemy is just not a good coach. Yeah, it does seem like the breeze blows a bit in this way if you think about the interest he gets out there. Nick, Josh says Grubbs might be the only answer if we wait too long. Just might. Yep. Sounds like things are kind of in finalization mode potentially with Grubbs. So this thing doesn't sound like he's not only the front runner, but like they're holding hands. They're kissing down by the leg. You know what I mean? It's a matter of time before the proposal comes through. That dude disgusted another dude. It'd be a surprise stream. Nice. Thank you, man. Gotta keep you guys off guards every once in a while. A little bit of some goodness here and there. And Nolan, thank you for reminding me of that. Please hit that like button for me if you guys could. I would appreciate it. Haley says, was hoping for Kafka and OC. Grubb as a pass game coordinator. That would have been nice. That would have been nice. Giants are going to be all weird about it. They're going to make it weird, Haley. Giants are going to make it weird. He wants to come here. Why do you want to hold on to him? He wants to come here. I wouldn't want to be yelled at by Dable. Dable was yelling at everybody on that sideline this last year. That guy's face was more red than Santa on Christmas. He was steam out of his ears. They couldn't wait on the telecast to go to the slow motion shots of Dable losing his mind. Come over to Steady Eddie. Come over to Mike McDonald. Come to the heart of the Caribbean. Nick says, does Grubb have any experience in the NFL beyond college? Not that I'm aware of. No, sir. John says, if Seahawks hire Grubb as OC, we need to get air raid siren just to piss Grubb off. Oh, Lordy. That'd be hilarious. Copperwise, I wonder if the boys would let us have Shotty back. Probably not at this point. I'm guessing no. I'm getting the sense there's a little bit of possession going on out there in some of these circles with these teams, with their coordinators. Henry Schmidt's a person love from Nordenheim, Westfalen, if you know. Well, it's great to see you in here. And thank you, Henry Schmitz, for checking out the channel, hopping on in. Aaron says, I thought I'd heard Grubb has essentially gotten the spot like 80% at this point. Was that wrong? Nope. That's inaccurate. I think that's accurate to what I'm hearing reported, Aaron. Whitebird, great selection for our coaches. Who now for OC? If they nail it here, we're going places. They hit this one, and this is always the one we would wondered about Whitebird when we said, if you're going to make this hire, now here becomes the real important one that does. And there are a lot of different variety of names. There's the untested at the college. There's the untested at the pros. T. Martin. There's the tried and true in the pros. Your Frank Reich and your Eric Bieniemy types. There's your Engelstrads with Detroit. So, but it does, what I am hearing, if we're looking for kind of breaking news, like even up to right before the show, we were hearing reports here that this was going to be Grubb's locked in. He's got missile lock. You know, he's got tone. So now they just need to pull the betting. AI calls him Magic Mike. Oompa says, love McDonald as head coach. Really like the idea of Frazier also. Me too, Oompa Loompa. Fantastic hire on his part. And Oompa Loompa, I'm with you, man. I thought I would have at this point had more of a certain guy in my mind that I wanted hired as well. And I kind of just, I don't exactly yet. There's not been one guy that's really swayed me over the top. I haven't hated the names either, but Dea tells his thoughts on Spencer Rattler now after the Senior Bowl. Well, and Spencer Rattler was the player of the game in the Senior Bowl, and I'm going to do basically a centric show tomorrow on the Senior Bowl and a bit around that day, and we'll talk a little more on that too, of course, tomorrow. But Rattler went out there and he played a really good game, to earn the trophy he did. There were some short passes in there that were nice and easy. He hit the go ball down the sideline. And what stood out, I think, on the go ball route that he hit was that he recognized the cornerback's eyes were back to the quarterback late in the route, and he was losing himself in phase. And the receiver then was going to create the separation just by the cornerback kind of, when you're looking back for the ball and you're still trying to run down the field, you might have a tendency to kind of steer yourself towards the middle of the field a little bit. Like your body just kind of wants to, pull that way. This is before the quarterback throws it, and you're 30, 20, 25 yards into the go route. So, but he threw a great ball down there, gave his receiver a chance to go up and get it, displayed, the quick arm action he's got back there, the pretty ball that he can throw. He was what he brings. He showed you he's got a little bit of velocity. He's got the accuracy, throws a nice ball, good, easy throwing motion, good decision-making in the pocket. Something that stands out in this game and something that's going to be part of the evaluation that probably raises him up in this game even more so than it would a typical quarterback in this situation flurrying in this typical game is that he's coming from South Carolina with that pressure rate at like 4.5% from last year, which is, so much further away, higher than what the rest of the quarterbacks were dealing with in this draft. And his line was so much worse than the rest of the quarterbacks in this draft that you see him in a game like this where now he's actually getting some pass protection and he's getting some time to actually throw and go through his reads, and he's able to really, do wonders. It does wonders with that. It just comes back to that old thing that I've been harping on for a while now recently, Dave, which is that, the quarterback position is much more impacted by the offensive line play and pass protection and what's going on up front up there a lot than it is than it is much more the quarterback just standing back there and throwing piss missiles all over the football field. But Rattler had a really good day, displayed what he's got. Does he push himself up into second round territory at this point? Can he push himself up into top of first round territory at this point? That seems to be the question. He is certainly firmly affixed into the third. He's probably pushed himself up into day 2, though, minimum now. Maybe not high day 2, but probably at least maybe late day 2-ish kind of space of things. Good day, though. AI says trade back to 30-32, draft center Powers, Cooper Bebe, Jenkins from Michigan. The defense is a great offense. That is. I'm good with that. Go in that role, man. You did what I wanted to do, AI. Just give me two linemen. Give me 2 linemen early on. Interior linemen. Build it and build it well. I want a field of dreams, this bitch. If you build the offensive line, the offense will be good. What? Who said that? Offensive line, it will be good. Who's saying that? Who's saying that? That's John Schneider in his backyard right now. He's back there and he's just like, checking on some shrubbery, and he's over there just, if you build the offensive line, it will come. That movie's probably too old for many of you youngsters here in the audience. Haley's got us going defensive tackle, middle linebacker, OG safety. Smart, Haley. I could see it. I could definitely see it. Peter says, you hit the scream. Let's effing go. On point. And as of adding online, I'm in 100%. Maybe not center because I think I have that guy, but guard 100%. Let's go. I'll take either one. I am picky on it, Peter. Just give me 2. Why get one when I can buy 2 for double the price? That's all I'm saying. Garth Knight with another $5 donation. Thank you for that, Garth. This is, can we please get Jim Tom Sula on Brian Dibbles? I don't know, I can't say his last name tonight. Jim Tom Sula on Brian Dable's staff. Any more mob types to add to the New York staff? Brian Dable, come here for a moment, please. Yeah, what is it? What do you need? We got some coaching to do. I got just drawing some plays up. The plays can wait. They're not going anywhere. I want to introduce you to somebody. This is a friend of ours, Jim Tomsula. Jim, say hi. How you doing there? Hey, Brian, what's up? What is this, Don? I've got to get back to my plays. He's gonna be your new defensive coordinator. I heard you had problems with Wink Martindale. I don't want you to have problems no more. No, you have no problems. We have no problems, right? Look at my chest hair, Brian. Look at my chest hair. That'd be a great combination, though, Garth. I'd go with it. Garth with another $5 says, I'm a yes on Kingsbury because he vacations in the same Thailand locations as myself. Gary Glitter, Billy Idol, and Deshaun Watson frequent. Brave of you to throw yourself in that camp. Oh, Garth. You always make me laugh, man. Not Billy Idol too. Billy catching strays. Billy catching Thailand strays. Not Billy. Billy wanting more. Come on. Not the Idol. I can get Gary Glitter. I get Deshaun, but not Billy. Don't say that. White wedding. Byron P. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, Byron. Welcome aboard the Hawks Nest, or back aboard the Hawks Nest. Appreciate you for doing that. And thank you, Gart, the double donation and making me laugh. Robert Fowler, let's get Grubb. Why aren't we interviewing him? Robert, I do believe they're interviewing him, or at least they're in talks. I mean, we're here reporting, I think beyond interviewing, I think they're in final stages right now. He might be literally putting pen to paper as we speak. GT says, Brandon, your cat is looking at me. What's the cat's name? The cat's name is Pumpkin, and she's just looking at you because she can tell you haven't subscribed. When she's giving you that look, it's the same look I get when she wants salmon. You know? So she knows. She's looking at you. Yeah, she knows you out there. She knows you haven't hit the button. That's her looking at that's why you'll see her do this. She'll look at you at the camera, and then she'll look down, look at you, look down, look at you, look down, like, hey, the sub button. The sub button right there. That's all she's doing. But her name is Pumpkin. And she's a very, very cutie cat. You can see she's even doing the technique there with the little arm over move there. It just has an extra layer of cuteness to it. Now she's going to let me know what's up. Who do you want for the offensive coordinator? Are you a Grubb girl? What about Frank Reich? I'm much on the Frank Reich one, I guess. Ingolstadt? The enemy? Oh. She sounds like a Grubb girl to me. Then that's a Grubb? Yep. It's been decided. The kitty has decided. Don, how you doing? Brandon the Cut, I love that your shirt includes Alaska. Being a Hawks fan who grew up in Alaska. It's long of what I say about this, Rand, is I don't ever think of Seahawks fans as, especially being that I've been living all over the state and I've lived in the territories around in the Pacific Northwest, and that it's not relegated to simply Seattle, Western Washington. It's an unusual one in that versus other, I think, sports franchises that are literally just into a city. I do believe, I know everything I've heard about Alaska is that is we are Alaska. Alaska is us. Vancouver, Washington, Vancouver, British Columbia is part of the 12 nation. Oregon, Idaho, Western Montana, parts of Hawaii where you go, where these people like yourself, have grew up and been Hawk fans since the start. Why wouldn't they be every bit of 12 as tried and true as anybody else? And that's why I love this shirt as well, as it really captured that, and that you're right. And it's everybody in it. Should have a little bit of the green even down on some of the islands here, but yeah, at least they got the green into the part. And we own a lot of territory, us Hawk fans. We do. Loco, with the pieces y'all think, I think Greg Roman would be a cheap, really good fit as OC. I think Greg's about to get hired somewhere else. I don't know if it was the Raiders I saw. Let's look real quick. I think Greg Roman's about to be hired, though. Chargers. So Harbaugh's bringing back his OC, his old OC. Misfit says, why are the Giants being dicks? Let Kafka move to a better situation. Well, we've all known people been in those relationships where, they're with a dick, and maybe guy to girl to guy, and they just can't get away from him. They've got some kind of hold over him. In this case, I guess it's contractual. But it does seem a little bit like, come on, he wants to go, let him go. Robert, would Grubb leave Alabama? Yeah, I think a lot of, I think a lot of these guys at the college level are going to start to shoot their way up into the NFL a little bit faster, rather than stay at the college level for a little bit more extra time. Because I think the NIL is making things a bit of a pain in the ass, and it's making everyone's job at the coaching level much, much harder in college. Ryan Pittman's with it. He wants Ryan a Grubb for OC as well. I'd love to see it, man. We don't know by tomorrow. We'll run a poll on tomorrow's show. If we don't got confirmation yet. Greg says Tanner Ingstrad for senior offensive supervisor. I'm with it. I didn't even know that title existed. Jay Stern says New York's such a trash franchise. Literally poverty. Jesse Lund, watch us draft all the players we actually want in the way the Ravens do every year, it seems. I think you will see that. One thing that was standing out is a little bit of, Schneider had that story, Jesse, he was talking about in the press conference when talking about McDonald, about how there's been this ongoing thing between the franchises in Seattle and the Ravens through the years where they always seem to jump in front of each other and grab the player the other one wanted, that they've been targeting through the years, kind of some of the similar players. Kind of a neat tidbit from John. Metcalf season says, the only thing I'm begging for from the new OC is more DK. I think that is just what you're going to get. I think you're going to get that in a big measure here throughout the year. I'm predicting 1,400 yards off DK next year if he can remain healthy. Puppet Master, I can't help but be excited about the Hawks' future. Mac really seems to have his head together. For me, the future looks brighter. I think that this move was a necessary one, and I think to your point on what this has done, Puppet Master has energized the fan base in a way that they've been sort of, I think, I'm not going to say the word languishing, but there's been maybe a bit of a malaise in the state of things over the last few years. And it's not that people aren't supporting the team or haven't been supporting the team, but I think there's been a lot of kind of the silent checking out. And that you're getting now more of a spirit that feels like more engaged and more back into this and seeing how the plan can work and seeing where the vision can take this thing. And that's great to see. And I think it's rightful optimism, and I feel it as well. Haley says, Seahawks OC interview be like, what are your thoughts on the middle of the field? Yeah, exactly. Do you have whole points of the field that you just decide to ignore for general reasons? For fear-based reasons like wanting to avoid turnovers? No. Cool. Right, something like that. Suspicious Stench, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, I am in Alaska. Plenty of Hawk fans up here. I've run across many Alaska folks through the years. Many. And I've always been, it's something suspicious I've always just kind of asked them about because I've been curious. I love the thought of it. I love that, you guys have that connection down to us and that you look at it in that way. And, I kind of feel like the team should probably try to maybe at times celebrate that fact that they've got that, whole state of people, or a big part of them that do view it in that way. And I think it's just awesome that we got such a big area. It's proper to being out in the West, the frontier, the great wide open, having these big old huge areas that we all love the same team, rooting for the same team. It does warm the heart. You got all these teams back out in the East. You got 3 teams in one state like Florida. It's like, well, we've got 30 down. We got about 30 square miles of fandom, from about like Tepper Avenue up to Mulholland. That's Jacksonville fans. And from Kingsley down on to Barnhart, all right, now that's going to be Tampa Bay, all right. But now you go on back over to Sicily Drive, and you take that on down to the Ramparts. Well, that's Miami territory right there. That's Dolphin time right there. Not here. You got Seattle? Yeah, no, you're a Seahawks fan. Okay. And you keep going out east? Yeah. You go about 5 hours out east, just keep driving. Just keep going. You'll get to there's Seahawks fan. Okay. Then you go another 3-4 hours minimum. You're going to get out to, western Montana. Okay. And including Idaho and that Coeur d'Alene in there too. Those are all Hawk fans. All right. Then you go south down there, Boise, out to Pocatello, Idaho Falls, on there. Come back out, sweep back out into the west side, go all the way through Oregon. It's basically all of Oregon. Maybe we'll give the Niner fans a little bit of the far little bottom slice of Oregon. We'll give them that maybe. And you go all the way back, get your butt up to Alaska, through all of Vancouver. It's great. Appreciate you though, Stench. And go Alaska. Go Hawks. Garth Knight, thank you for the $5 donation and all of your donations tonight, Garth. You're very kind as ever. Says Brando, you get that autographed Chad Brown card I sent you? Honestly, it wasn't too expensive. I just need to know if I need to send Tom Sula to fix problems. I'm talking tonight. I think it went to the other address, so I've got to ask my buddy tonight, and I've got to get you, Garth, my other updated address, so that if you do send stuff, because I've got a new Addy to send you. But I think he's gotten it. He's just been running right and left. So I'll find out tonight from him if he's picked it up, because I'd love to get that up if you got that. I want to get that up on the wall for sure, especially with this new camera, because now I got the extra space right. Yeah. To put it on in there, Garth. So I want that. But thank you for the donation. Thank you for sending it. And I will, I'll let you know by tomorrow's stream. I'll know by tonight, so I'll let you know. I just haven't connected with him, but he's good about putting it aside, and he knows to be on the lookout for that stuff if something pops up. So I should be able to learn very quickly what's happening with that. But thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Hawkso, thank you for the $5 donation. If the Hawks choose to sign Justin Matabuke and not Leonard Williams, would you still consider that a waste? Would you still consider that a wasted pick? Obviously, hypothetical situation. Well, I guess first, just because I think you might be confusing me with maybe somebody else, because just on the front part of it, you said you've got the word still in there. So right now, I don't consider Leonard Williams a wasted pick. So I'll say that point first. But I understand I understand the nature of your question. So let me kind of back it up from the nature of your question. If you lose Leonard Williams this offseason, it doesn't in itself make it a wasted pick. If you lose Leonard Williams and there's no compensatory return, then it does make it a wasted pick. And if you're going to sign Justin Matabuke, then you've basically decided to take a pass on any sort of compensatory return on the other side of things. So that kind of would take it into a wasted pick, because you could lose Leonard Williams right now, play the compensatory game, get back maybe even as high as a 3rd round pick back for him down the road. And while that's not equivalent value to what you gave up, it's also not a wasted pick. And so that's a bit of a part that I'd say would factor into this for me a little bit, Hawkso, just a bit. But yeah, if you're flipping between the two, it becomes wasted because there's no compensatory, there's no retaining. You're paying Justin Matabuke more money than you're going to pay Leonard Williams at that point. So yeah, it would be in that range for me. I'll also say, I do believe that one of the reasons I think Queen is going to be a free agent and Patrick Queen is going to be in the Seahawks target signs as a guy they're going to try to bring here is that Matabuke is going to be probably the guy to be franchised. Ravens can't franchise both. You franchise Matabuke, you let Queen walk, not because Queen's not a good player, but because you've already paid Roquan Smith all of the money at the other middle linebacker position. Brian E says, Reich? Sorry, I'll take Kingsbury before I take Reich. I get it. I can't with Kingsbury. Not me, man. I can't with him, Brian. That guy just seems like he just keeps failing upwards. He's going to go out to USC, you know? He's going to make Caleb Williams better. Caleb Williams is not better. The offense is not improved with his presence there. Okay, now you're going to be an OC at the pro level. What? Okay. Misfit says Reich looks older than Pete Carroll. No, you would too if your quarterbacks in 3 successive years were Phillip Rivers at 44 years old, Matt Ryan at 39 years old, and Carson Wentz with none of his body held back together again. Well, like they did not put Humpty Dumpty back together on that one at all. Swedish Shinobi says Gino's going to be serving up some Grubhub next season. Ooh, I like that, Swedish Shinobi. I just think I found one of my comments I'm going to steal from for a title at some point. Arturo says, I grew up in South Anchorage. I can confirm that Alaska is Seahawks country. I love to hear that. That's so great. That's what I've heard too. It is a Seahawks nation. This is not about it being just a state or whatever. It's about the nation. We've taken over. Talking about America's team, you can't even take over your state, Cowboys. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Casey says Alaskans are mostly Seahawks, except the military guys. Let's go. Gopper, I grew up 30 minutes from Green Bay as a Hawks fan. I've lived all over the U.S. and Germany and never wavered. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And that's why I say it's like it ain't about where you're from. If you've got you put your flag in that ground at one point, that's my team, and you've rolled the ups and the downs, the ins and outs. Don't matter, you know. Australia, Germany, 30 minutes away from Green Bay. Truth is truth. Jesse says all the deadliest catch dudes from Seattle help rep it in AK. That's cool. I did remember I saw the old clip from that. One of the more brutal clips was them on the Deadliest Catch show playing the second Super Bowl, you know, the final play. And they're like talking through what they're hearing about the play, and they're just blown away. Like, they didn't run it? But that's awesome. Shout out to Alaska. Thanks for holding it down up there. We know you guys are doing the hard work, doing the good Seahawk work up there. Casey McCracken says, I'm Alaskan. Let's go. Let's go. Snail says Kafka should have gotten a prenup. He did. He was so excited to get the marriage, he never thought about the fact that he might want to one day leave. And now he's stuck. Daboll and the Giants are just that bitter, alcoholic husband over there in the corner, shotgunning the whiskey with them evil eyes. Them evil eyes. Puppet Master, I think it would be so fitting to get a commemorative plaque for Pete Carroll on the Pike Place gum wall. On the gum wall? Yeah, I think it's more as cool as says. It'll be a Pete Carroll statue. I think what you should have is a Pete Carroll statue and like him going to shake Paul Allen's hand, you know. They're like going to shake, you know, or they're in the middle of a shake, because they both deserve one out there. They both do deserve it. Metcalf says McDonald said he wants to work with what players are good at, and how do you think they'll use DK this upcoming season? Ready for a modern team. Well, I think DK is going to mainly see the benefits here on two main spots. I would say Metcalf. More willingness to bend him into the slot at times and work him out of that spot. Not to turn him into a slot receiver, not to turn him into Michael Thomas, but to allow him to be able to then pull some of the double teams off and the bracket coverages that he gets with, especially the cover 2 looks. So you're going to see that first. I think the second thing that you're going to see is more of a willingness to target the middle of the field and intermediate portions of the field. those two spots, especially, they've kind of leaned away from at times and given it times in games. And I think that that's going to happen a lot less now. So those should amp up a bit of the production. I also think that there's just going to be more of an onus in getting him featured. To your point about McDonald working the strength of his team, they'll just be a little bit more pushed upon, hey, let's get this guy featured. This is a big part of our offense. This is in a lot of ways almost where our offense should kind of begin from. How do we work from this starting place? Blue Hawk 206, orange cats are a necessity of life. The cats need some NIL money for cat treats. No, she had herself some good. The reason she's sleeping right now, she had some salmon here before the stream today. So she's chilling. You know what I mean? She's happy and she's chilling right now. Belly full of that. Look at how big the belly is right now. That's salmon belly. That's cat salmon belly you're looking at right there. She's pure. She's in a food coma. Cool Breeze says Pumpkin makes the stream go over the top. Not gonna lie. Well, thank you. That's the intended effect, man. That's what I'm hoping to hit. Cyrus Frank Smith for OC. I'd love to see it. The one thing that does maybe as I think a little bit more about it, Cyrus go, man, maybe not, is that, Miami's whole attack is, pre and post snap motion, but it's also getting the ball in the player's hands in short space, bam, and then letting them work their yak. I don't know if you have a collection of yak guys across the board on this team right now with your skill position guys. Jeffrey Kelly, depending on who we get, I feel like DK is going to have an explosive offensive rookie of the year type. I think you meant just offensive player of the year. I think is what you meant. Like 1,700 yards and 15 touchdowns. I think he's got the capability of putting that kind of year up, Jeffrey. It takes the right system and the right approach and the right willingness to target him to get that kind of production, because you got a guy, you're going to get him involved 150, 160, 170 targets a season to get to there. But he's fully capable of doing it. Cool Breeze says we need a pumpkin-only stream soon. No offense, Brando. I could probably do a Twitch stream all day where I just put a camera on her, and it would probably do pretty well, to be honest with you. Might be an interesting experiment to just try for the hell of it. Just turn it on stream one day, and I'll put it on her, and it'll just have the background. It's just her doing this. You're probably right. What would be sad is if it went to like 30,000 subs. Really? My cat? Arturo says for Alaska, Washington is like our cousins. Alaska and Washington are like the Oman and Yemen, like that. I concur. That's how I look at it too. Sister states, brother states, however you want to put it. Jesse Lund, are you going to do the pumpkins picks again with the food? Laugh my ass off. I might. I'll put it to the vote of the fandom if they want to see that again. But I'm open to doing it. She liked it, no doubt. Extra salmon. Stealing grub. Brian E says Grubb sounds like a good fit with his resume as an O-line coach, especially if we can score a good couple of interior O-linemen. Shouldn't have to worry about pass protection. Pass protection. Nope. We should be much better on that part of it. I agree. I totally agree there. And he's hopefully a little bit more of an onus on the offensive line if he comes in. And that Washington line did a good job. And Rosengardner and Troy Fatanu, those guys look like they're going to be very good pros. Robert Fowler, what percentage do I think we'll get Grubb? As somebody else said above, Robert, it seems about at 80% right now. It feels very close. Very close. Blue Hawks 206 pumpkin stone cold look of the new era. Big Hawk trade up and get a stud quarterback in the draft will cost a lot, but they have shown not to be afraid to do it. Hence, Leonard Williams' deal. They've been willing in the past, Big Hawk, to give up draft picks for players. The one thing that they've never done in 14 years under John Schneider, though, not even up a space, not even a single space in the first round. You have never moved up in the first round at all. Always it's been to move back. But if they went that road, I'm not against it, Big Hawk. I'm not down on it. But if we're just looking to what they've done as far as their trends historically speaking, we're going to add picks more than we're going to let go picks. And I think that second round pick being lost is going to just push them to try to add more picks than it is to lose more. Kevin McDonald wins the move to San Diego. I don't know where it's maybe coming up soon. Next couple of months, probably. Mr. Dog says very few teams dominate like 5 different states. Exactly, man. Part of what makes it so unique. I feel bad at times for the Oregons, the Idahos, the Montanas, the Alaskas that can't have a team, but at the same point in time, it's nice to have all that fandom in, and I love it. Love it. Hawks, whoops, still was a poor choice. Williams was definitely worth the pick. Oh, okay, there we go. I figured you meant it a certain way somehow. I was probably, the still was just throwing me off on it. But yeah, it's worth the pick if you can get some compensatory back. Because here's the thing with that. If I'm playing a compensatory long game and I make a go for it move like that with the second round pick, but that I'm getting back the third or the fourth round compensatory back, do I want my general manager hesitant in moments at the trade deadline not to make moves because he's worried about losing 2 rounds of selection point from a given draft? I don't want that to factor in like that. And if I lose that 2 rounds of selection point because I've had a go for it manager to try to add a player to take me over the top, I want that to be more of a pathway of an approach by my general manager rather than being fear-based or holding on to those draft picks like they're, timeless. You can't put any value on these picks. It's one of those things. Like, no, be willing to will and deal at times. Don't hold on to them like with the death grip. So, but if you get nothing on it, if there's a 0 on the other end of that, then that obviously changes the nature of the beast there. Lethal Lance just joined now. How much was Grubb discussed? We haven't talked a ton about him other than we think he's a front runner right now, Lethal. And obviously if he's hired, I'll do a full show on him where I'll do a full breakdown on his background and, what led us to him and all that other stuff. But he's I think he's probably maybe the most exciting of the candidates out there right now. And he does look like the guy close to being the guy. Garth Knight, thank you for the $5 donation. Appreciate you for that as well, Garth, all the donos. If there is one thing tied to Pete's legacy outside of the Super Bowl, it's wasted picks. Now, we don't know who was truly responsible, but one guy got fired. That's true. I mean, it sort of comes out in the wash, right, Garth? You may not know the answer, but the wash will tell you. And I think if we're looking at John Schneider and looking at some of those trades that went down that didn't go right, or who was pushing for some of these deals to let's go for it in the moment, and was that one guy throughout that process making those pushes to do that? Was it both of them? Did they both have an equal amount of bad, trade selection ideas that they made through that time? One drove one, another one drove another. Like Schneider drove the Clowney, Carroll drove the Adams. Carroll drove the Leonard Williams. Schneider drove the Sheldon kid out of New York that they took, the New York Giants defensive tackle they traded for. Who knows on that? Like you say, who knows? But I would kind of logically deduce the same way you did on that one, right? Like that does tell a story a little bit about the fact that one's fired, one's not, as to maybe, especially understanding that the guy that got fired had more power than said general manager at that time, had more power to make any and all of those moves if he wanted to do so. But I think that the Pete's legacy at the end of the day is going to be remembered as a winner and as one of the the greater coaches that we've had come through, maybe not just from a pro standpoint, but in this throughout recent football history, when you consider in the work he did in college. He'll be a Hall of Famer, rightfully so, earning all of those accolades and marks in his outlook as a coach and who he was, from my standpoint. It did rough out at the end. It did get bumpy at the end. But I don't think that that's going to neuter him or neutralize. Did it do that to Tom Landry? Landry had a lot of pittering out there at the end, but Tom still revered and looked upon very brightly by the Cowboys fan base and how they look at his contributions to that organization and what he did as a coach. I think the same thing will be there with Pete too. Thank you though, Garp. Appreciate the donation. Eric Cotter, thank you for the $5 as well. Do we bring Wagner, Diggs, and or Adams back? Who stays or who goes? I believe that the cut list will work like this, Eric. Post June 1st designation for Adams. Jamal Diggs just becomes a cut. Nick Ballore Brian Monet, Dwayne Eskridge, those become your other immediate cuts that are no-brainers. You're going to clear about $34 million between all of those cuts collectively. That might be just enough in itself. With Wagner, I do believe that he comes back, mainly because you've got to add 2 linebackers as it is. So it's going to be a tough task as it stands to try to add 2 inside middle linebackers at once. Then the question would come and be posed: do you want to have 2 middle linebackers on who are rookies at the same time, or a Mike and a Will that are 2 rookies at the same time? Maybe not. Maybe not with that. So that again leads you back around to, okay, well, how do we turn that then, at that point? So I think you go, well, Wagner comes in. He showed last year he's not asking for all the money. Comes in on a 1-year, $5-6 million deal. You pair him in with maybe a Patrick Queen and run with that as your set. So I think Wagner's got the best chance of any of them to stay. And it's certainly a shot in the dark, but I think that he's going to remain, Eric. I think the organization is going to want to remain. He's got the leadership that he brings in the locker room, the knowledge he brings in that locker room. You're going to play him in a different role than you played him in this past year. So less of him spot dropping 20 yards back and trying to pick up receivers on crossing routes, going down the middle of the field while he's at a dead stop sitting in his zone. I think there's a lot of that. So those would be my list, Eric. I feel pretty confident on that with those five guys that I itemized as to who will be cut. There's so much money you can save between the collection of those guys, and hard to understand why you would retain any of them at this point. Appreciate you though, Eric. Thank you for the donation. Eric Cotter, we haven't gotten grub yet. I'm saying 80%. It sounds very, very close. They played footsies under the table. They do that thing where the little fingers are like finally getting to holding hands. Okay. He's put his arm over her, and we put our arm over. We're getting close. Okay. We're not to second base yet, but we're getting close. Look back at it. Says, I've seen Shrimp getting 300 views on Twitch. I know. It makes me think. I just sit over here and I'll put the mic right next to her. So if she cries out, you can hear it. It might be funny just to see what happens. Oh, jeez. Al Bundy, is your cat always beside you during your pod and beside you in your house? She's a lot of the time if I'm up here working next to me. When she hears me up here talking, every time she's coming up for the stream. So yeah, I don't think she's missed a stream here in a long period of time where she doesn't, some point or another, if she's out doing laying somewhere else or out eating or whatever, she comes up here and hangs out. She's always good like that. I didn't train her to do it. She just naturally, she's kind of a ham, Al. She's just kind of a ham. So what she does. Lethal Lance, do you think Kobe Bryant can play safety in the scheme, seeing as how McDonald liked his safeties to play man? They've kind of bounced in between 2 different positions the past 2 years, and it hasn't really worked great, Lethal. I don't know if Kobe's really a safety. I kind of think Lethal, he's at his best as maybe a corner when it's all said and done. So he didn't perform well out there at safety this past year. Putting him in a different man-based coverage situation, I don't think that's going to be better for him either, because he played mainly zone at Cincinnati. So he doesn't really have a lot of he's not really fluid in man-based cover concepts. I know he did some slot last year, but even we play a lot of zone out of that. Haley says, personally, I look at Williams' sunk cost from moving on from Pete. If we re-sign him, nice, but we shouldn't overpay just because of that second. No, I don't think you should overpay either. I don't. I do think that you do got to pay the market cost it would to bring him in. And I think that's, if it's 14, 15 million on a 3-year deal, it's a lot, but it's also the cost to get a quality defensive lineman, and Haley. And I think that there's not a lot of other linemen on the market this offseason that's going to present his skill set. I don't think this draft provides anybody that, presents his skill set. And you do have to eventually kind of come to that spot where you go, okay, we got to get some prime grade A beef down in there. Not just guys that are third rounds or fifth round guys or, overachiever types. But I'm not paying him 20, I'm not going to go to crazy town on it, to your point. But that's a fair way of looking at it, I think. I'm not at this point going to get too beat over it either. It happened. It went down. Like you said, it might have been the thing that pushed this move over the top to being made to happen. Casey says Percy Harvin was typical Pete. And Percy's another one. There's another one. Byron P. J. Daniels would be great. Don't think he's going to be available, though, unfortunately. Going top 5. Eric Cotter, thank you for the $5 donation. You are saying Jordan is gone? BT Jordan? I don't know if BT Jordan's gone. No, the pass rush specialist, I think they would try to retain and keep here if they could. We'll see if that's a possibility, but I would think he did pretty good work last year. I don't think they would just bring him in for the year there. You got a cheer? All right, I'll help you. I'll help you out. I got you. It's year. But no, I think BT Jordan stays, Eric. No guarantee, but I'll say this. Whether he stays or goes, we at least know with the Ravens last year getting 60 sacks and leading the league and able to generate a lot of their pressure from their blitz packages, that it becomes less about needing the guys up front to always be 100% getting the job done on their own. The coaches are going to help them this year in a major way in that respect. But I think he stays. Let me know if you mean a different Jordan. Who's next? His play calling seems to work at the colleges. Hope it translates to the NFL. That's the risk with Grubb, Scooby, is there's some big upside to him as an offensive coordinator, but is that scheme going to translate to the pro level when it's not necessarily being all that much worked across the board as it stands right now? Dylan says, I've never been this excited for a season till now. It's a little bit of what I was talking about there, Dylan, where that's something that's, I think, starting to proliferate itself through the fan base, and you're feeling awakening over the past couple of weeks, especially with the McDonald hiring now, where I think people feel themselves in that state of where I think even a lot of people just kind of realizing, I was in that state. I was in this place where I was kind of just not down on my team, but also just not super excited about what the team was bringing on a yearly basis, that I just wasn't quite kind of feeling it. I think people are feeling it right now. And it's great to see. I love seeing it. And hopefully the team can take advantage of this, kind of renewed vigor. Cool Breeze says Pumpkin has a sense of recording. She ends up chilling 90% of the time with us. She does. She's really good. Scooby says our mascot's tired by the look of it. She's exhausted, man. She's had a long day of eating salmon and taking naps. It's taken a lot out of you, haven't it? A lot out of her. A lot. A lot out of you. I know. Daniel, I think that meant Jordan Brooks. Oh, Jordan Brooks. Yeah, Jordan Brooks has gone at this in my point. Me and Brendan had an interesting debate on this in the B&B show because he was feeling like Jordan Brooks was maybe the better way to go. And I think it comes down to both Jordan and Queen are going to get 4-year contracts. I think Jordan's going to get something like a 4-year, $12 million, $12 million on average per deal. And I think Queen's going to get a 4-year, $17 million on average per deal. And so is Queen $5 million better, more worthwhile than Brooks? Yeah, especially when you factor in the fact he's a better player and he doesn't have the injury history involved. If I'm looking at that from John Schneider and I'm measuring both of those up, I'm going to go ahead and say then I'll take the Patrick Queen option and spend the extra $5 million, because you don't know if the injury situation is going to continue with Jordan going in the future. Number one, you don't know if he's, you also know with Jordan that the coverage issues are going to probably always kind of remain there. Like, they're never getting really cleaned up. You sign up for the Jordan Brooks experience, you're going to get below average play when it comes to his ability to stand up in coverage. Dylan, I feel like McDonald gets Matabuke. I don't know. I think Matabuke gets franchised. I have a pretty strong feeling about this. It's kind of a logical deducement on this one. It's like teams don't pay safeties, right? And if a team's going to pay one safety, they're certainly not going to be paying the other safety. Teams also don't tend to pay their middle linebackers. So if a team's going to pay one middle linebacker, they're probably not going to pay the other middle linebacker. And so they've already have the Ravens paid Roquan Smith a market kind of setting deal a little bit at the middle linebacker position. You look at what they feel like maybe they can afford to lose and what they can afford to replace. They don't have a guy necessarily in place for Matabuke if they lose him, or an easy pathway to finding a replacement necessarily. I guess they just have to love somebody in this draft. But I think that Dylan, they're going to franchise Matabuke and let Patrick Queen be a free agent. Who's next? I don't know. I don't know if Brooks will be here next year. Yeah, I don't think he will either. Yeah, I know Garth. Now, yeah, I should have just gone right to Jordan Brooks. Haley says, allegedly Pete said initially this was his last season, then flip-flopped after week 18. Imagine getting Williams was a last ride type of move. Very well could have been, Haley. Yeah, very well could have been. The one thing is with that Pete seemed to at some point or another have to changed his mind through the process. That'd be the question I'd have for that is what point did the mind change? When did you start going, no, wait, I don't want to retire. Eric says Jordan Brooks or not spell game. We got it figured out there, Eric. Copperwise, I hope we trade back in the first two, man. Trade me back twice even. I've got a big time affinity for the thought process of trying to find a way to get 5 picks in the top 100. We got 3 right now. Can we get 5? Can I get myself 5? Eric Cotter, damn, ice cold diss Brooks and welcome Queen, laughing out loud. Love it. You know, what are you going to do, man? The truth's the truth, I don't hate Brooks, but he's given up 2,300 yards in coverage in 4 seasons. And he's missed some time. 2,300 yards. That's what I'd be doing too, salmon and napping. It's a tough life, you tripping, you know what I mean? A hard life, that tasty salmon and those long naps they cause. Gets the meat sweats. And Don Mata, I don't think Wagner's going to want to be a coach after he's done retiring. I think he's got a lot of other things he'll probably do. A lot of other opportunities. I think they'll be there to him. Garth Knight, the Hawks drafted Jordan Brooks ahead of Queen by 1 pick. So we drafted him in the first round, and then the very next pick, the Ravens took Patrick Queen. Jesse says one red flag on Queen was his shoulders kept giving out. In this 2 playoff games, he ran out the field 6 or 7 times like they were out of socket or some shit. Whoa, I didn't know that. Well, I guess the good news there, Jesse, if that's the case, McDonald will be aware of it, and he'll be like, yeah, don't sign him to $17 million. He's got Elmer's glue holding his shoulders together. No, I wonder if we get the OC tomorrow too, man. Probably announced in the next couple of days. Dylan says, what have we got? Winfield Jr., Antoine Winfield Jr.? Well, you know that guy's always been one of my favorite guys. So if we got our hands on him, that'd be great. But I highly doubt Tampa Bay is letting him get away. Chase is bringing Clowney and Queen and re-sign Williams. Sign me up for that, Chase. Daniel, thoughts on retaining Devin Bush? He should be cheap, but I think he still has some untapped potential. I have confidence that McDonald can maximize talent. I like cheap upside under our head coach. If they bring him on kind of a veteran minimum deal, Daniel, I'm okay with that. For the price at that point, that's fine. If he's being asked to be paid at like $4 or $5 million a year, then I'm not paying that price for him. So it's got to be in at the right price, vet minimum. But on a vet minimum, yeah, we need to round out these linebacker crew right now. Right now we have John Radigan as our starting linebacker and nobody else next to him. So, you need to both get starters and you need to get depth. Depth and starters. I think the 5th rounder is in next year's draft, not this year's draft. So you still have your 5th rounder in this year's draft. I believe. Eric Cotter, dude, meat sweats on her. What does that look like? Yikes. It's a dry sweat. It comes off in dander. Derek, it's very weird that Kafka couldn't interview with us. I've never saw an interview request get blocked, at least not in recent memory. We were commenting here and there earlier on the stream, Derek, that it seemed to feel like kind of a dick move by the Giants. And I maintain it still feels like a dick move as we're a couple hours later. You know, like, come on, you guys. What are we doing here? You know, if he wants to go, let him go. Especially because, to me, that's a job, Derek, where they very, very, very realistically could end up firing Daboll after this year, i.e. then firing, and then firing with that Kafka, you know? So he's like, look, I could have gone last year. You knew this was coming down, you guys. You knew you were going to do this. Why didn't you let me go then? Kind of cold-blooded. Yes, he says, very good point. McDonald knows better than anyone what's going on with the Ravens players. Yeah. And I think that's definitely going to stand out in his mind of, you know, yeah, I talked to the medical staff. They told me about these shoulders. I've been dealing with this for the, back end of the year. Or it's, he just needs an off season for the shoulders to get better and he'll be fine. Or, something like that. Whatever the truth may be, of course. Susan Martin says, love the cat. Thank you, Susan. She's a nice girl. She's a good kitty. Very talkative. Got a lot to say. Yeah, you do. A lot to say. She's got hawk thoughts. Hawk thoughts. Haley says, via Zoom. We don't need. Roxanne rolls in the house. What's up, Roxanne? Says, I'm okay with never talking to Kafka. Face like a rat, smelling a predator's urine. Can't have that face on my sideline. Double right. 6 quandary left. Double X. 8 wide. Double going right. Double do. He does got a very, very not motivating looking face. If you could have a not motivating looking face, that's a not motivating looking face, Roxanne. To your point. It's a little rough. I like it, but that face like a rat smelling a predator's urine. Oh shit. Haley says, I imagine Mike McDonald would prefer his middle linebacker from Michigan. Apparently he was super high on him. Started him early. I like him a lot too, man. Haley, I call you man. Junior Colson. Me and Mike McDonald are similar on this one. I seem to have him higher than a lot of other people have the other middle linebackers in this draft. Edgerrin Cooper for some people is their number one linebacker. There's a few other guys that, Peyton Wilson for some. For my money, I just think the most complete guy is Junior Colson on the tape I've watched. So if they end up going Colson second round and drop, I wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be shocked at all. He gives you everything at the position you need. And especially for McDonald, Haley, that wants the guy that's versatile and flexible and can do everything. That's really going to be very appealing. Very appealing. Coolbreeze Pumpkin would probably not like the Pang Yang curry I get. It's spicy. Yeah, she's not a big spicy one. You don't like spice. You don't know what you don't like. Sean says KJ wants T. Martin as the OC. Your thoughts? He's a little inexperienced, Sean. He's not done any offensive coordinating. He's only done a year of quarterback coaching, and then he's only done 2 years of receivers work before that. So you have a lot of inexperience there as far as the play calling goes. Yeah, I guess he got the year of Lamar Jackson and the better year of Lamar Jackson out of him, and that's impressive that you were able to better turn him into more of a passer in the pocket and make him look more like a competent quarterback going through his reads and his progressions and his process rather than just being a runner at the position. But that in itself isn't enough to convince me that he should be the OC. And I think there's probably better options out there. I'd like at least a guy that has called plays. It doesn't have to be a necessity on that, but that'd be a general preference. And if they haven't called plays, then they need to have some kind of background that's very, very, very enticing in what they've done. And Martin's just done solid work. It's not been super enticing necessarily. He says Kafka wouldn't be a good head coach, but just as an OC, he'd be good. Probably would. Who's the best OC available at the moment? I really don't want to deal with conservative play calling and second and long runs again. I think Grubbs is then, for what you just said, as far as what you don't want to deal with, that'd be your guy. And he does seem to be the front runner for the position at this point, Derek, is the Washington OC. Jesse says, are the Ravens cornerbacks any good, or was the coaching more than talent? I'd take three of our guys over anyone but Humphreys. Yeah, Marlon Humphrey is really good. You know, obviously at safety, Hamilton and Geno Stone outplayed our safeties. So, you know, their cornerbacks collectively tackle better than ours. Maybe Witherspoon step for step with them, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, Roquan outplayed Bobby this year, and Patrick Queen outplayed Jordan, and Matabuki outplayed our 3-tech for the most part. Leonard Williams would have been pretty close to him, but you didn't have Leonard Williams for the whole year. They probably got better collective edge play out of each guy on both sides. I have a hard question to answer on that one a bit for me. Garth Knight, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, I don't agree with Roxanne Roll, but I respect her stance on mafia-controlled offensive coordinators. I totally get where she's come from on Kafka. I couldn't deal with that face. No, thank you. Imagine if that had been our head coach. Like a mouse smelling predator's urine. Like yours. Yeah. Thank you, though, Garth. Appreciate you. Leonard Williams III. Would you be upset if we took all defense and offensive linemen and no quarterback or other skill positions? Hashtag build the trenches. No. That's what I'm calling for, Leonard. I say start with your offensive line on the inside. Get over to your trenches on the defensive side. I do think people, Leonard, are a little bit confused at times on what we need on the interior of the defensive line, especially if you do bring back Leonard Williams. And that is that you have Leonard Williams, then you'll have Draymond Jones, then you'll have Mike Morris. I mean, that's three techs you've got at that point. You're going to need a nose tackle, but go get a nose tackle. Go get maybe a Tavonde Sweat. Go get a guy in there that can be a little bit more able to plug some things up in there. Sure. I'm completely in favor. I'm kind of old school like that, Leonard. I do think that you win with the trenches. And you know, I think we've also done a lot in recent years to attack some of our skill positions on the edge to where that's not as much of a necessity now than also in addition to that. Entree Pitchers, do you think that Ryan Grubb comes to Washington's as our new Seattle Seahawks OC? I do, Ante. Yeah. I think it goes this way. I feel pretty good that that's how this is going to break down. Swedish Shinobi, it's funny that the Giants were finally able to block someone. Unfortunately, it was one of their own coaches. Giants deserve these strays, folks. That's cold-blooded. Guy wanted to leave. You're keeping him in country. They're holding his passport. Dable's over there like, no, you're going to stay. We just got one more little check. Snap of the rubber glove. No, this will be very quick. Daniel Bailey says, do we play the Giants next season? If we do, I'm hoping we put up a 40 burger on them. That's fine. Keep your OC. We're good. Unfortunately not. And since we know they're not making the playoffs next year, we won't be seeing the Giants at all next season. Philip Castle, does Swift move into the first round closer to the combine? Does Swift? I'm spacing on the Swift name right now. Does Swift move into the first round closer to the combine? Tavondre. Gosh dang. Sorry, I was completely like, huh? You mean Sweat then, not Swift, but you meant Sweat, I think. No, he has too much inconsistency on tape. And he sometimes doesn't play it enough like the one tech, a little bit like you'd like, always the consistency and just rooting down and being an immovable force. He does that a lot of the times. But it's more of like you get the one tech with some pass rush ability is kind of his acclaim, and not as pure. The one techs tend to drop anyway. They don't tend to go first round unless they're freakish like Jordan Davis. So he's got to wait till the second round. No way he goes in the first. Phillip, it's more likely his teammate goes in the first than him. Byron Murphy. Braden Lewinsky. Second and long runs aren't that bad. Look when the Lions got and they ran the ball in third and long more than anybody last year. Second and long runs aren't that bad. Look at where the Lions got and they ran the ball on third and long more than anyone last year. Was that directed at me, Braden? I don't know. Maybe you were talking to someone else on that. Cool Breeze, Brando, Mariner season incoming. Any vids? I find myself completely unexcited and uninterested by what's going on with the Mariners right now. I have no excitement for this upcoming season. I don't know. I think I will probably be just doing all Seahawks content all off season, to be honest with you. It's Mariners have done a lot this offseason to push fans. They've taken the opposite approach to the Hawks and taken steps to push their fans away. And I find myself one of them. Keep making that profit, Mariners. Keep making your profit. It's all about that business model, man. Got to get that business model in the right shape, Got to cut those corners. Why has it got to be at 10%? Why can't it be at 13%? And why 13% when it can be at 16%? Money, money, money. 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 Mr. Hollows, who had looked dominant in Senior Bowl one-on-ones. He was very good in one-on-ones. Yep. But that's the place also you'd expect to dominate. Most time playing a one tech, you're getting double teams. And that's something on tape with him is that if he gets one-on-one, then yeah, he'll wreck shop. But the thing with him is it sometimes doesn't always root down exactly as much as you want as a one tech. Most of the time it's there, but you kind of want it to be more there with his size. He's just so big. Milo Fatanu, first pick makes the most sense, but Mike may want to pick D first, right? Thoughts? I tend to be driven towards more, like you say, the line. It would be the pick that I think would make the most sense is going to line first, where that's the value also on your board. Especially if you slid back, Milo. If you go 15 to 26, you're looking right down the barrel of Cooper Bebe, Troy Fatanu, Jackson Powers Smith, who's the other guy I was trying to think of? Graham Barton. I mean, you'd have maybe all four of those options you're looking right at. All of those guys, are upgrades to what you have, pro ready, can play multiple positions. I mean, I got to feel like there would be definite draw there to jump in on those guys. Gar says, okay, who's responsible for Danny Dimes sticking around? Fire him. That guy still is probably optimistic. He's still like, we got to get him an offensive line, Garth. That's what he's saying. He's going, we just got to give him a line. It's not his fault. We just got to give him a line. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. He's bringing the same energy that old Bill O'Reilly on Insider Edition, F it, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Where he freaked out and lost his stuff. John, can we convince Jody to play Air Raid Siren every time we score at home if Grubb becomes OC? He hated it at UW. You guys are already wanting to troll him. You're not the first one that said that today, Sean. Come on, y'all. We can't start trolling our OC from the jump here. No way. Oh my gosh. Snail, thank you for the $2 donation. B, I want new Dontario Poe. Is he in the draft? Well, that's what Tavondre Sweat basically is. That's basically Tavondre. So you want Dontario. Tavondre's the guy. Not as good as I think a prospect as Ontario was coming out, but still very close. So there's your guys now. And no, there's not really another one. The other defensive tackles in this draft are Byron Murphy, 3-tech. Tyleek is okay. Deontay Corleone is like a real big. He can do a bit of both. Corleone is kind of like that, I guess, a bit. But Dwayne Carter, 3-tech. Hall's a 3-tech. Chris Jenkins, a 3-tech. Braden Fisk had a fun Senior Bowl, but he's not really Dontario Poe. He's a 3-tech as well. He's not Dontario Poe. There's few people built like that, so you only get one a draft. Brandon says, B, would love to see a video where you rebuild the Seahawks in Madden, explaining what you would do and why you would do it. It could make a good video as well. I'm down to do it, man. That's a great idea. I did get the last year's Madden. I think I did. So I'll re-download it and see if I can put a video together like that, man. I'm down to do it totally. Great idea. Great suggestion. Fantastic suggestion. Bob, after the coaching signings, who do you think we should draft with the first or trade back? I try to trade back, Doodle Bob, and I'd even try to trade back 2 times. I think more than getting caught up on a particular player in this draft or where we're going to be picking, I'm more about, can I get 5 picks in the top 100? I currently have 3 picks in the top 100. Can I get 5? That would be my goal if I was John Schneider, because the talent in this draft from about 11 to 50, 11 to 60 is pretty close. Pretty close. That's where, just on the surface of it, that's where I find myself kind of pulled a little bit. John says, Hawksnest, with what the Seahawks do in the first round, going to show anyone what they're focusing on? Not necessarily, because they could be just looking to grab a specific guy or a guy that's resonating with them or they just fell in love with. I think the whole total of the draft will tell that tale that you're looking for, Sean, not just off that first pick. Because one pick can be an outlier to a need for a particular point in the defense or for something the offensive coordinator needs here, where they fall in love with that guy in tandem with it. So it's a little bit tougher to make that determination. And I'll maybe do some M's content at some point. I'm not trying to be too soured on him, but it's been. I mean, your GM's telling you that we want to win 54% of our games. What do you, and I know there'll be people that, well, he got misquoted on that. Like, no, he said what he said. And there's a reason why that quote is, and it fits to what their model type is as an organization. And I don't follow sports for teams just to follow sports to the hell of it. I'm following it because I'm hoping you as a team are trying to go out there and win a championship. And if your organization is not in the pursuit of championships, then I don't think I should really have to watch the team or cover the team. And I thought when I started the Mariners channel up 2 years ago, that's what they were intending to do, was to start to push and be a team that was going to get themselves out of being a laughing stock in baseball and bring themselves up into legitimacy. Instead, what they've shown is that they're more interested in covering 2 million at the gate every year. And as long as they get their 2 million people crossing through the gate every year, then they could give a piss about whether or not they ever win a World Series or not. And I don't know. For me, that's a bit of a struggle, especially when so many exciting things are happening now with the Seahawks team to start covering, Mariner content. And I'll say this too. So baseball as a sport just doesn't have the same kind of coverage or the same kind of interests. And, I did many live stream baseball games over last year. I probably did 50 live streams. It's like, there's not a lot of people coming in there. That's with a team that was winning. It's just, this is the Mariner organization's one that's tone deaf on this. Like, you guys can call all you want about being all poor and we don't have any money in our television deal, our television package. But, you have fans checking out and they're not always going to carry you on that 2 million gate for the foreseeable future if you never give them anything to reward them for what they're doing for you. It can't be a one-way street there on that. Derek says, biased opinion, do you think Mike McDonald is going to work out for us? Yes, I do. Because it's a smart hire and he's a smart individual, and I think that's a big part of the success, is whether you took that process to do it correctly or incorrectly. Did you just try to do it fast? Did you just try to get a guy in here get a guy in, or did you get the right guy in here? And I think they took a process to make sure that they got the right guy in here. And that leads me to believe that there's a lot more room for it to be successful. Swedish Shinobi question, how important is the nose tackle compared to 3-tech for McDonald? I think it's at the very least equal. I mean, the team had Michael Pearson there as a starter, but they went out and spent a third-round pick out of the kid out of UConn a couple of years ago. He was obviously a guy they looked to want to be as the heir apparent there, but it shows that they don't just look at it as a position like some general managers do, to where I can find my nose tackle in the 5th round or 6th round. I'll just get a plugger in there. That doesn't seem to be their methodology and approach. Matabuke, I believe, was a 3rd or 4th rounder as well. So I don't think that they necessarily, as far as the background of the Ravens go defensively and how they've drafted, I don't know if that's driven by McDonald. They've leaned towards when they're going to go high. They've gone, it seems like, I want to say they've gone kind of for, they go, they really do lean more on offensive side of the ball early on when it comes to early in the draft. And then it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th round is where you'll see them start to address defensive tackle, middle linebacker. But it seems like 1st round, you're either getting offensive guys or you'll get skill. You'll get like a Marlon Humphrey 1st round pick or a Justin Hamilton a 1st round pick. So if we're fitting to what they've done, at least you're more looking at probably a nose in the 2nd, 3rd round. You know, if you're looking at them getting an edge, 2nd or 3rd round, 3 tech, 2nd, 3rd. But 1st round would be more of a different kind of cat than at that spot. Maybe of Tyler Nubin, maybe an offensive lineman. And Sean Hines, I wouldn't move Kobe Bryant to safety. I just think he hasn't played safety particularly well in the short times you put him there this year. It's just now you moved him already from slot after you moved him from outside corner. He was 2-time All ACC at corner. He was the Walter Thorpe Award winner at corner. Let's just put him to the position that he was drafted and let him run there. Haley, thoughts on Jeremiah Trotter Jr.? Seems super instinctual. Would be kind of cool to pair with Colson and sign Matabuke if the Ravens can't keep him. I don't know if Trotter lasts outside the 2nd round, so I'm a little bit worried about that, Haley. Where you're only really probably going to get one shot at one. If you did pair him up with a Colson, that'd be a great combination. I think he is going to work in this league. I don't know if he's going to be. I don't know if there's really star power behind Trotter. If that makes sense. I see functional. I see a guy that has maybe a high 4s or maybe even just kind of at least a league average middle linebacker. But is he going to be a difference maker at the position? Is he going to be able to, I don't know if he's twitchy enough. I don't know if he's explosive enough forward. He's a very good lateral mover, but forward and back, for his size, it's not as explosive as you'd like. You know, if you're an undersized guy, then I want that twitch to you as the middle linebacker, you know, where it's just vroom, vroom, vroom. I think he's going to run like a 4.6. If not, maybe even a little bit slower. And so that's got me a little bit worried with Trotter's a tough eval, Haley, because like you say, he's so smart, so instinctual. There's a lot of things that he does that you can't kind of teach, and he just naturally has with the position. But size, the measurements, the explosiveness, I mean, that stuff does factor. If you're undersized and you're not super fast or, you know, bursty. Yeah, you know what I mean? Cool Breeze says, Brando, I've been telling you to do the M's content to roast the team. We need that voice. I'll try to do at least that video. I hate being super aggro negative, you know, when I start getting in that role. I feel like I'm being pissy at times when I'm just like, but you're right. We probably could use one of those guys I've seen. There's not a lot of people that are, you know, standing on this line with it, and I could have some fun with it, where I get to be the only guy doing it, you know. Because I get where the Mariner content creators are coming from on that, because you're going, we already have such a small subset of folks on this thing that are checking into this process. You know, if we start getting negative, we'll have those people checking out, you know, whereas I won't care. I'll burn the whole house down. Oh, shoot. But I'll try to put something together cool. I'll do at least something before the season. We'll get at least one video up, you know. Garth Knight, thank you for the $5 donation. What scheme does Mike McDonald employ? Is he 3-4, by the way? I'm like Brendan Nelson on Clowney. Can't stop appreciating him. Post Monday Night Football in San Francisco a few years back. Well, you know, I've always got a lot of love for Clowney, Garth. I will always have a lot of love for Clowney. So if he comes here, I will tell you this is a great move. Let's make it. I will pound the table for it to happen. Mike McCarthy employs, basically, if you go back to the origins of it, Garth, I mean, if you want to go back to let's take it back like you take a West Coast offense back to its beginnings, it's got the 46 in its beginnings. which is, 3-4 backing a bit. But it's more of he will employ the 4-man fronts. He will employ some 3-4. He'll have guys standing up. He'll have guys putting their hands in the ground. It will sometimes differ play by play. So he's not as structured on his defensive line in this position's here and that position's here and that position's here, especially in how he uses Garth the blitz game to operate off of the looks of his defensive line. So it does lean a little bit more into the, some cover 2 shell principles on the back end. Some 3-4 in there, but it's so multiple now in Garth. It's so much more away from what it was even 10 years ago, where you were either 4-3 or you were 3-4. And now it's all kind of, especially the good defenses, seem to be throwing a lot of things out there. You'll get the 3-man front, the 1 guy standing at the end of the line of scrimmage. You'll get the 2 down linemen like we've done with the 2 and the 9 technique on the outside. Might get the pure just 4 down linemen at times on certain looks with a 3 tech in the spot, the 1 tech in his, the outside Leo where he is, your 4 tech, whatever, on the front side of the play, strong side of the play. So, it just definitely the way it kind of goes with that. But Clowney in San Francisco had one of the best defensive performances I've seen from a Seahawk ever. I felt like he took that game over. Someday I will do a video on my great Seahawks moments in Seahawks history series. I'll do it on that game and what he did do, because he was magnificent, and it was such a fun game on top of it. I mean, just the back and forth and down to the wire, and it took a crazy drive, I think, at the end to pull it off, and it was an amazing game. It was just an amazing game. Snail is going to go ahead and finish us off here with this last donation. So we'll go ahead and start to put a bit of a cap on this, as I got to bang over here at 9 o'clock. I'm going to be jumping over onto my Twitch channel, actually, and hopping on with my brother and some friends. And we're going to do some Fortnite tonight, play a little bit of games and have some fun over there. So if you want, you can join us over there on Twitch. I am the TheSeahawksNest on Twitch, or you can click it down in the description link. You can find the username down there as well, where you can find me over my channel tonight. We'll be playing throughout the night tonight over there. But we'll have Snail finish this off with this $5 donation. I want to thank Snail. I want to thank Garth, Eric, Cotter, Roxanne Roll, Rahawks O, Suspicious Stench, Taker 610, Nolan, Peter Girl Hawks. Thank you to everybody tonight for so many of the donations. You're so very kind of you guys. Pop was going to pop in and out. Just you guys pop them in. So thank you for doing that. And, very much appreciative of you guys on that. Thank you so much. Snail says with the $5 donation, and thank you, Snail, for all of your support here to the channel, in addition to being a member. I do appreciate you for that. Devondre Sweat or bust from now on, B. I want 3 men in the middle of those 3-4 like Poe was for those Chiefs back in the day. Biggest man on the field. Well, there's no doubt about that. When you put Devondre up in the front and you're looking at the telecast, you're not going to have any question in your mind when you look between those offensive line and the defensive linemen as to who the biggest guy is on the football field at that moment. Devondre is absolutely that guy. He rocks 360. No doubt about it. Now, there could be a little bit of an argument to be made that maybe Devondre could stand to lose maybe 20 pounds, and he might be even more effective as a player at that point. But he is a good player. There's nobody built like him. There's nobody that's that weight that moves like he moves. And that makes him, like you say, so very unique. And I've, in a lot of my mock drafts, the common thing, the way my mocks go when I run it on just in the background on my own, is you trade back. I get my offensive lineman with the first pick. I'm into the second round, and then Snail, once I'm into that second round, bam, I go and then I take Devondre Sweat, or I usually go with the middle linebacker like Junior Colson or Edgerrin James. And so that's been where I've been driven to do that too, Snail. And if you did that, I think, boy, as a Hawks, if you did as your 1-2 to begin your draft, where you've got first round, you've taken care of your left guard, got some help at right tackle if Lucas can't hold up, and then you got Devondre Sweat in the second round. And now you have your 2 third-round picks to do whatever kind of the hell you want to do. That would set the draft up very well for being just as successful as these past 2 drafts have been, Snail, and how we've managed those. So you don't have to sell me on it, man. I'm with you on that. I'll pull that oar in that same boat as you, because I think that could be mighty helpful, and certainly something that's in glaring need with this defense right now. Devondre comes in. Jaron Reed can fit now into the number 2 1 tech role. Cam Young can develop at his own pace. It opens up a lot of different things on that end of it if you bring him in. And I don't know, when I look at these defensive tackles in this draft, if there's a lot of other guys that are going to quite fit to what he does. A lot of guys that are big and move well. but more 3-tech types than true noses. A lot of 3s, not a lot of 1s. You know what I mean, Snail? But thank you, man. I appreciate that donation. So nice of you. Very, very kind of you. Cooper says, and I get a Brandon, most Dems creators kiss ass to the organization. We need a real voice. I get where they're coming from. Cool too. It's tougher if it's a harder road with baseball than it is with football. I don't have to worry about being negative football and like, well, I've got quarter of my audience will check out, and I think you get maybe potentially a little bit of that you're looking at in baseball, but I'll put a video together. I'll put a video together, and you know me, I won't pull any punches. So I'll give the straight goods for sure on that. All right, folks. Well, we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to pounce on over to my other side of things over here on my Twitch channel. And again, you can join me over there if you guys want to on that side of it. Would really appreciate it. We'll just be kind of chilling over there, just a little bit more laid back. But we will be back tomorrow doing a little bit of Senior Bowl breakdown. Senior Bowl went down today. We had practices throughout this week. Risers, fallers, everybody in between on that. We're going to be going through up, down, left, and right and looking at the players and who stocks rise. Senior Bowl, it's 75th anniversary of the Senior Bowl this year, has become more and more important, has become a bigger and bigger part of the draft valuation process. And our Seattle Seahawks have targeted specifically Senior Bowl players in recent drafts pretty heavily. So some of these guys in this recent Senior Bowl are very likely to be on the Seahawks roster here come draft day. So we'll be talking a little bit more tomorrow about that. 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We'll be doing the Senior Bowl draft stream. We've got Tuesday Behind Enemy Lines with Baltimore Ravens Coach Evans of Sip2 Tally Films here on YouTube, where I will be going into a little bit of the ins and the outs, the X's and O's, the ups and the downs of what exactly Mike McDonald brings to the table as a head coach, what his defense brings to the table, what we can expect, and just, how mad are the Ravens fans about losing Mike McDonald as their defensive coordinator. I thank you guys for watching today. Please do slam, destroy, utterly obliterate that like button. Tear it into a million different pieces if you could for me, please. Helps me out tremendously. I want to thank, as always, the sponsor of this show. Sponsor of this show is Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy sponsoring this show throughout this year. And right now, you can click the link at the top of the description section below there. That link will take you to the Underdog Fantasy site. And the first time you sign up, they will match you up to 100% of your first deposit. Up to $100. So $100 on the Hawks Nest, and you support me at the same time. Get into some great ongoing contests. You want to get in on the Super Bowl. You think this given player is going to do that given player is going to do this. They've got a way for you to jump in on those specific given marks and take advantage of it. We've got March Madness. We've got basketball, hockey, baseball starting up still. A lot of great sports breaking up here in the future. So you can take advantage of that over there at Underdog Fantasy right now. Click that link below or use my code NEST. Get $100 in your pocket on the Hawks Nest. Support the channel. I appreciate them for doing that. We will be back in less than 24 hours for another live stream show on this Senior Bowl period. Thank you guys for watching. Again, please hit that like button on the way out the door. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Back in 24 hours, but please, until that time, please don't you ever forget. Come on now. Go Hawks.